But it's an individual effort. I mean, you have to, as a person talking to my 22-year-old self, well, I'd like to kick my own ass, first of all, but it didn't have to be that way. Like, it didn't have to go down that way.
Yeah.
If I would have really just given into the mindset that of what I have now, in just a little bit, not, I'm probably off the chain now the way I am, but I didn't have to be that way then. Just a little bit of intentionality and a little bit of effort, and more than anything, just an honest look of who I was and who I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And then the whole narrative would have changed.
Wow. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Allsmith. Today's guest is Jared Hellums, a man who doesn't just build businesses or structure, but men and legacies. He's the CEO of Constructable, a company built on the belief that what we build shapes us, that good structures, good systems, and good men don't just happen by accident, but as we always say, they're forged, not found. Jared, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me. So excited to be here.
Dude, it was so fun chopping it up offline.
Yeah.
Like I navigate that all the time where I'm like, should we just do the Rogan rolling start and just like not even do an intro and just like jump in? Because we started getting passionate there for a second.
For sure. And I think my media team, they've learned that they need a camera rolling all the time because the best content comes not off the script. It comes totally. Like when we're just connecting.
Yeah, totally. And it's something that's unique about the human experience now with this AI, social media growth and development where it's not purposeful, but our biology doesn't really recognize how to be on all the time.
Right.
We know how to like be human, but we're almost like curating or training ourselves to try to be on because it's like there's certain clickbait, but it's inauthentic. And as a consumer, you can tell right away when it's like bullshit.
For sure. Absolutely you can.
Yeah, and that's why I love, it's not for everybody. But sometimes I say this to clients all the time, like, man, I wish I was wearing a GoPro like during that conversation because I was gold.
Right.
But if you turn on the camera, it changes things a little bit for some people if they're not practiced and attuned to it because it feels like an elevated level of anxiety where it becomes inauthentic.
Sure. People are trying too hard.
Yes.
And you lose the authenticity and the effort.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You talked briefly for a moment offline as to the hierarchy of your priority, that you're a man of God, you're a husband, and then everything else.
Right.
And we can unpack, obviously, business owner, the business coaching, and the Ironman and endurance athlete components. But I want to talk about a little bit of that, how you developed that important hierarchy.
Okay.
Because as high-performing men, you often have to compartmentalize portions of yourself. You can't be everything all the time or it just becomes this unorganized cluster.
Right. If I had to put it into words, number one, the priority matters because where my beliefs are, if I'm not giving it to God first, I mean, he's the one that made me, molded me into who I am and allows me to be the man, not only of who I am, of who I'm going to become. Mm-hmm. And then second, what's really important to me, like my wife and my children are paramount. They are the most important thing. They are, if you talk to any man, they say they work 18 hours a day for their family and they say all these things, but they don't realize exactly what they're saying. My family and my wife are the most important thing to me. Therefore, I'm giving them the best of what I have and I have to take them the best. And in order to do that, I do the other things because of them, not the other way around. And I show that through my actions and I show it through my intent.
Yeah, the word is good, but the action is better. And I think what's really interesting, I have a business partner, Quentin Williams. He's been in your seat. We're getting ready to host a forged retreat, actually, up in Encinitas in August.
Okay.
And we talked about this yesterday on an Instagram Live, which was, so many men do the self-work, right? Like they're behind the scenes, they're listening to the podcast, they're doing the breath work, they're doing the sauna and ice, they're training, but they're in isolation. Yeah. And they're seeking to understand the Simon Sinek component of like, what's my why? How am I going to serve? And what's going to fulfill me as a human being? And so I want to touch on and kind of play ping pong with you a little bit around that concept of self-work is phenomenal. To get to the point that you're open and willing to be coachable and explore new concepts and ideas, great. But the whole reason for that is to be contributing to the tribe and connective and serving, protecting, and providing for the family.
For sure. I think we all start out very selfish in nature. I want to do this. I want to look better. Whatever it is, we start out selfish in nature. And as we really dive in and really start to live amongst that tribe, you realize the importance of what it means to give it away. Because you're only growing when you're giving it away, when you're expanding. You use the word forged. I like to use if we're refining steel. I mean, we're breaking out all the impurities, but you're only really becoming good when you're available for others to use that strength. So in order to do that, man, I work on myself to give it away. And then as I'm giving it away, I see the ways, I see my shortcomings, and it exposes the things in me that need to be exposed as well.
Mm-hmm. Matthew McConaughey had a really cool line that I take with me everywhere I go, which is, maybe what's more important than who you become is who you're not. And that's an interesting component of about the way you described forging, because I think of it as like you're going through adversity. I don't always think about it as like trimming the fat and eliminating. Mm-hmm. You kind of described it that way, which I thought was really cool, because I often ask that in my coaching practice, like, what do you want? Yeah. What is your goal? It seems simple, but it's kind of broad. You got to like really get in there.
Yeah.
And I think you described it really well, which is what's more important is who you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. Early on in my walk, early on in my journey, I had to really look at the blind side. Like what is everybody else seeing in me that I'm not seeing? And really assess what the results if I tell you I'm going to do something, then I don't go do it. You see that I don't go do it, even though I had the best intent. Mm-hmm. I see what's here, but you see what I'm blind to. You see the actual results that I'm producing. Mm-hmm. And so then if I'm open enough to start seeing my blind side, what I'm not, then I can really grow. Then I can really grow into who I want to be, but only through honest assessment. And man, I've really been thinking about vulnerability a lot, and I can be vulnerable with you. And I think that's the real measure of a man, period, is when they're really willing to get vulnerable, but you have to get vulnerable with yourself and really real to what they aren't.
But it goes against the grain to do so. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I myself choose to actively be vulnerable. But what's so interesting is when you think of the traditional masculinity, it's rah-rah, it's work hard, I'm fine all the time, bury emotions. Mm-hmm. I don't talk about my feelings, not only because I don't want to appear as soft, but I also don't want them to eventually be weaponized against me.
Sure.
But then as a byproduct, you bury and you stuff until eventually it starts to manifest. And we talk often on the show about how the body keeps the score, whether that's pain, inflammation, addiction, numerous challenges or ways that the body learns to cope, because we have the greatest coping mechanism known to man. What are your thoughts on like how to introduce vulnerability into the high performer where he's hesitant to do so?
I think that's the difference. When you take a high performer, I think that's really the difference between a high performer and a not a high performer. Somebody that really produces some significant results, but to take that next step comes in vulnerability, comes in looking for, hey, what's my weakness? You played basketball. I mean, you start thinking about, why do I always go to the right? Why do they always guard me that way? Mm-hmm. And so if you start looking at what you can't do, what you're not doing, and do those things better, then you become a better person. But in order to do that, you have to approach your own weakness. You have to look within and really do the things that you're uncomfortable doing. Because if you're comfortable doing them, you would have already done it.
That's so true. I did this thing when I was in college where I became friends with people that played at different schools.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, let me see the scouting report on me. And he ended up showing it to me in the summer. And like, of course, the immature me, the ego in me, I was like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah.
But they were so right.
Sure.
And so I took that to my coach and my trainer at the time. And I was like, let's make all these things a strength. I was like, I don't care what it takes. Because at a very young age, I came to realize that like, okay, when I observe the world, the most successful people don't like negative constructive criticism. if you can actually learn to take constructive criticism as data rather than an emotion, you can do something with it. And so, I don't know, like at a young age, I kind of held on to that where I'm like, oh, it's not about being liked. It's about they're making an observation on lenses that I can't see based on my emotions and my personal bias. Now I can filter that. That's the input. Yeah. Now I can filter that, share it with the team of people that can help craft me into a better athlete, better human being. And now we can integrate a better product.
Couple thoughts there. It's significant that you were even willing to look at the scouting report. Most people shy away from that. They don't even want to go there because they don't want to internalize where they fall short. So to even have that mindset to begin with says something. And so if somebody tells me something and I'm like, I don't want to hear it, then I need to really assess, like, why do I not want to hear that? What's going on inside of me? Give me the opportunity to assess and say, why don't I want to hear it? And then really deal with that emotion.
Yeah.
And the second thing that you said which was great, and I'm going to say trust. Trust is, for vulnerability, trust is essential. But what you really have to do is be willing to trust yourself, because you can take the information, just like you said, filter it through yourself, and then you can decide what to do with it. I think a lot of people are so, and I was this way, like it's not a lot of people, we're all this way to a degree. We're so closed off that we don't trust ourselves enough to even look at the negative. Because we want to react a certain way, or we want to react the way the world says we need to react to it. If we can just trust that, hey, I can choose to pick that up or not. I can choose to feel shame or guilt or any of those things. And that's my choice. It doesn't matter what you're saying. I can take it for the good or I can take it for the bad.
Yeah, that's really well said. What's coming up to mind there is that we're so positive with ourselves, but quick to criticize others. And I think when you can like kind of dry erase or wipe out the emotional component there, and just look at it as sheer data, there's a uniqueness there. Or even not just rationalize and remove the emotion, but feel the emotion actually for a moment. Right? That 5x5 rule, like if it's not going to matter in 5 years, then don't spend more than 5 minutes thinking about it. But some of these things are going to matter in 5 years. And if we don't deal with them now, you know that the man upstairs is going to keep teaching us that lesson over and over and over again until we learn it.
And it's going to get harder. It's not just going to teach you the same lesson. That stick's going to hit you harder next time, for sure.
And it's interesting, too. I'll just use another shared experience, but I was stubborn, man. Like, self-reliance was everything. Like, I don't need anybody's help. I'm going to go figure this out on my own. I'm going to run more hills, run more sand dunes, train the things that I see the pros doing, copy, emulate, do all the things to just push. All gas, no brakes. Body's going to figure it out. Mindset's going to will me through. Nutrition, sleep, they don't matter. Just keep going. And it works. It works until it doesn't work anymore. That gets you from A to B. So it creates this buy-in personally of proof of concept. And then when it stops working, you're like, oh shit, I don't know what to do now.
What now?
And then the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of men are that way. They're like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I got here without your help. Why should I listen to you? I'm successful over here, but now you're stuck. And the way you go from B to C is not the same way you go from A to B. And so being willing and open to realize like, oh, that's the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. You tried. You keep pushing. It's not working. Pause. Ask for help. Be open. And that's the spot. That's the moment where I think men have the opportunity to take responsibility for change. It might take some time, but what are your thoughts in that little in-between moment? Because it can shape the rest of your life.
It does shape the rest of your life, and it doesn't all start at once. It starts with being vulnerable about one thing, the willingness to look, and then it expands and grows from there. But you have to start somewhere. Start where you are, and then you can really change the narrative. I was speaking earlier about perspective. The great thing about knowledge is it doesn't shift the world around you. It shifts the way you look at the world. So does vulnerability. It allows you to see the world through a whole different lens, but more importantly than that, it allows you to see yourself through a whole different lens. And so if you can just start attacking your own biases, attacking your own assumptions, if you can get over the good enough is good enough, and really assess, like, man, who am I called to be? Who am I supposed to be? Who am I supposed to be as a father? Who am I supposed to be as a husband? Like, how am I supposed to show up there? And am I doing it? And if I'm not, man, let me grow into that person. Like, let me seek first to go do those things.
Yeah, totally. Ben Franklin has a famous quote that is both awesome and terrible at the same time, which is, most men die at 25, but we don't bury them until they're 75. With you, you're going to hate me for this, with you being halfway to 100 now,
Yeah.
and you're double that age at 25, what comes to mind when I mention that Ben Franklin quote?
It's so true. Like I started running into trouble when I was 22 years old. My life went totally off the rails by my own choice. And I thought I'd lived the world. I thought I'd conquered. I thought I'd done all these things. And it wasn't until in my 40s when I really started living again. And gosh, I see it. I see the way that society molds us, and everybody gets caught in these routines of, I'll just use the baseball dad. They just go to baseball practice with their kids, and then they start trying to kind of live through them. But yet they have so much more to offer the world at that point. Just like I have so much more wisdom to offer the world now than I ever have before. And gosh, I have so much more to give. Like I have yet begun, which is a cool place for me to be personally. But man, it's so easy to fall in society's molds that's the case. You stop living.
Yeah. What's coming to mind there? We put up a post with our Allsmith team yesterday around kind of the messy middle. And I'll use, are you familiar with the CrossFit workout Fran?
No, I'm not.
So it's 21, 15, 9 thrusters and pull-ups.
Okay.
Everybody's really motivated on the 21 set because they're coming out of the gate hard. And everybody's really motivated because they can see light at the end of the tunnel. But that 15 set is really where the magic happens. And when I think about so many things within the human experience, like we're born, we kind of have this excitement. We're so young, we're juvenile, like possibility is endless because we see this reservoir of time in front of us.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get to that age of 22. Potential's kind of started to diminish a little bit. Now you're in the messy middle. People aren't really excited that much about you unless you're somebody.
Right.
And you also are kind of like, you start to experience a little bit of trauma, a little bit of loss, maybe exposure to drugs and alcohol and the distraction of girls and all these different things. And then all of a sudden, 22 to 40, you're like fogged. And at 40, you're like, whoa, now I'm starting to see my own mortality. I should get my shit together.
Yeah.
And I'm curious your thoughts as to how to reframe that so we don't have 18 years of fog where people can really refine, or is that just part of the story?
I think it's I don't think it's part of the story. It doesn't have to be, but it's an individual effort. I mean, you have to, as a person talking to my 22-year-old self, well, I'd like to kick my own ass first of all, but it didn't have to be that way. Like it didn't have to go down that way.
Yeah.
If I would have really just given into the mindset that of what I have now, in just a little bit, not, I'm probably off the chain now the way I am, but I didn't have to be that way then. Just a little bit of intentionality and a little bit of effort, and more than anything, just an honest look of who I was and who I wanted to be. And then the whole narrative would have changed.
Wow.
The whole narrative would have changed. You brought up something earlier about when you would go, you'd run hills, you'd do all these things, but your diet was falling off. I was the same way. Like I was a decent athlete, but man, what could I have been if I had my diet in order? Like really, how much would that have changed the narrative? Because I think diet now is more than, I think it's 70 to 80% of it. So if I would have just changed that one thing, then how would it have changed my entire life? How would it have changed everything? And I don't want to sit and look back, but I also want to give people that are my age then the opportunity to like really knowledge, to have that ability to go look like, hey, if I just changed one small thing and I was adamant about it, what would it change in my life?
Yeah, that's so well said. The responsibility word keeps coming up for me, but More importantly, at that young age, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right? And, if you were to compare and contrast diet at 17 to 22 years old versus work ethic and activity, I'm going to pick work ethic and activity every time because you can kind of get away with this at a young age.
Yeah.
Not saying that it's more important, but at that age, if you're going to have to like sacrifice something, you can probably get away with it. And then all of a sudden, 25 to 35, it starts to like, those bad habits start to kick you in the ass.
Yeah.
And so what's interesting is going back to the book Green Lights, convenience leads to compliance. And I think what's so interesting in modern day society that I want to unpack a little bit with you is that fast food is convenient. It's not cheap anymore. I mean, it's starting to get more expensive for sure.
Yeah.
But it is convenient. And people oftentimes put money towards convenience. You look at Uber Eats, you look at Grubhub, you look at DoorDash. And so for a young kid that's trying to figure it out, that, if their parents kind of got them a little bit associated with banking when they're young, they probably have access to a little bit of a credit card later on in their teenage years, kind of building their credit, which is both smart and dangerous. And it's like, yeah, I'd love to say eating better could solve the problem, but it's also like, okay, you're not going to be super responsible to like prep your own food. So you're probably going to eat better by spending an enormous amount of money, and mom and dad are going to be knocking on your bedroom door.
Yeah. It's funny you bring this up. I have an 18-year-old daughter who's going to get ticked that I even brought this up, but she's a chicken finger, chicken nugget girl.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about convenience. Yeah, it's society tells them that they should, and they that's the only way to live. Mm-hmm. And there is no element whatsoever of what it does to her body and what it does to her emotional state. And she's getting ready to go to college. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, hey, you're going to have to get these things together because it's going to affect you significantly. Your emotional and your mental health, your desire to get up and go to class is going to be affected by the things that you're feeding your body and your desire to not want to go work out, to do anything physical. Mm-hmm. And so there's the society tells us that that's how we should live. Mm-hmm.
And what's so interesting is going back to that word stubborn that I brought up.
Yeah.
It's kind of just ingrained into our DNA that we're unwilling to change until something manifests that we have to. Pain, loss, tragedy, an injury, body dysmorphia, or like you go to college, you want to be, the guy with abs or the girl that looks good in the bikini. And then all of a sudden, we're tinkering with poor food choices. We love being social and having this social lubricant of alcohol. But then all of a sudden, it starts to negatively impact the system. Yep. But only then are we willing to change because we're thinking, what can we get away with? How do you kind of share that in your coaching to kind of create buy-in early on before the negative consequences set in? That's
the hard thing. And you hit on something as we don't see the results until it's almost too late. Mm-hmm. And then it's so hard to change the narrative. But I like to say every choice comes with a cost. Every choice comes with a cost. If you want to go run an Ironman and you come home at night and you sit on the couch and you drink Coke and you eat potato chips, then what you're telling me is you really don't want to go be successful running an Ironman. What's more important to you is that comfort and the time. Everything comes from a cost. And I'm not saying you can't drink a Coca-Cola and have a bag of potato chips. But man, you need to know what the results of that, what your intended results are. And so if you can connect your intended results with each action that you choose to take every day, if you can connect those to your intended results, then you're going to be much more successful.
Yeah.
But you have to be intentional with every aspect of your life and every decision you make.
Yeah, that's very well said, because I think the king justifiers like myself will be like, oh, well, I just did this hard thing. Now I'm going to shift into more of a parasympathetic state to rest and digest after being in a sympathetic state forever. Fine on that day. Not fine long term. You see what I'm saying? How it can get justified based on trusting the science or, whatever bullshit we want to throw out there. And like, what's cool is that like that was something that I was doing for a very long time.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I have an amazing wife that calls me out on my crap. I brought in a healer into my life, and I have people in my circle that I've looked at them directly in the eyes and I've said, hey, I don't necessarily want you to make me feel good. I want you to tell me the truth. That's painful, but it's so valuable when you actually take that to heart and look yourself in the mirror when you're brushing your teeth.
For sure. The importance there is you had a conversation with them. More than that, you gave them permission. Not necessarily you gave them permission, you gave yourself permission to receive. You gave yourself permission to receive the hard things that they're going to tell you. I mean, you're talking to a guy that just ran an Ironman in April, and then I immediately went back to eating bread and gained 14 pounds in like 12 days. And I was like, my wife, she's like, man, what are you doing? And I realized I had to cut it out. Like my actions were causing me to become exactly the person that I don't want to be. And so I had to course correct, but I had to listen to somebody. I mean, I felt it for sure, but I had to listen to somebody speak the truth.
Yeah.
So had to make the choice. Do I want to keep eating donuts and pancakes, or do I want to be the person that I say I'm going to be?
And what's great about that, though, is that I love the concept discipline equals freedom. I love the green lights analogies. All these things are amazing. Confidence is proof of concept that you are who you say you are when you look over your shoulder and you consistently do what you say you're going to do. But what's beautiful about this is the relatability and the vulnerability to say, hey, I fucked it up.
Yeah.
After my triathlon and after my Ironman.
I think that's the most important piece is I'm going to go back to drug addiction. I mean, I had a long stint of drug addiction, and when I finally got free from it, I had to realize that, hey, relapse is part of it. It's not part of it, and I don't want to give anybody permission to go out and use drugs and be like, hey, Hellums said relapse is part of it. But when I finally let go of the stigma that I could possibly do that, and that even if I did, that it wasn't the end of the world, I could pick up from that point on and start again from that point. I don't have to go back from the beginning. I don't have to start over. I hadn't thrown everything away. Once I let go of that, and that's a big thing in my life, then I found freedom. Once you let go of the fact that discipline does equal freedom, man, we're going to fail. And I'll use the donut theory. I mean, you're going to have a donut one day. You're going to go out I have donuts with Dad, with my daughter, and I'm going to go eat a donut that day, and that's okay. Like, it's not the end of the world, but it's having a plan to recover and then following through with that plan and giving yourself the emotional freedom to say, man, I effed it up, and here we go again.
Yeah, I love that. In a world that's consumed by metrics,
Yeah,
where it's like, I'm this many days sober, huge power to you. Like, I think that's incredible for the people that are able to do it.
Yep.
That's a motivating factor for so many people.
Yep.
But like you said, you're a fucking human being. You're going to have moments where you screw up. And what I love about this so much, because it's so relatable to people that are on nutrition journeys. Oh, I screwed up on Friday, so I figured I screw up Saturday, Sunday too.
Yeah.
Or I didn't do well here, so I'm just going to wait till Monday to start, and I'm going to keep screwing up. And you're like, no. Every moment is an opportunity to begin again. That is so powerful. Like, if you guys get anything from this conversation, like, take that. If you screw up, fine. Note to self, give yourself some grace, and then have a plan of action to then move forward with consistency based on the person that you want to be, both male and female.
Quit waiting on perfect.
Yes.
I love this analogy. Like, people, I'm going to go work out when I feel better. No, go work out now. Quit waiting on perfect. I screwed up. Quit waiting on perfect. You're not going to be perfect. It's not going to happen. Let's just go do it. Go start where you are.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Quit waiting on perfect.
Yeah.
That's huge, man. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. What is it about certain topics, certain things that, as Stephen Pressfield would say, we have a ton of resistance? I don't really want to approach that. That thing's going to unlock or unmask things that don't feel good. But you could spend your entire life worried about what could be versus just doing it. And going back to our conversation offline, like, my mom said that. She's like, Bryce, you have this song inside. Go sing it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be the guy at 75 telling some young whippersnapper the guy you could have been.
The living with regret is much bigger than living with the fact that you tried and failed. I mean, let's go back to the man in the arena. I love that phrase.
So good. Brene Brown.
Yeah. So love all that. But man, living with regret, there's 1,000 possibilities that never could have taken place because I didn't do something. But saying, hey man, I stepped out there and did it. and this is the result that I produced. And it doesn't matter. I mean, if I got asked, what if I miss on the Ironman this year? So what? Look at all the stuff. Look at all the good that came in. Look how I'm 50 years old. Look what kind of shape I'm in. Like that in itself is a win. So go out and do it, man. Quit living with fear of failure and all these other things. My wife and I, she should come in and talk about this, because we talk about worry and fear all of the time, and she's a worrier. And I love all these memes that they say, has the wife there and the husband's like, hey, just quit worrying about it. And she's like, oh yeah, I wish it was that simple. Yeah. But you tie yourself up with all the things that could go wrong. You tie yourself up. I mean, going back to quit waiting on perfect, you tie yourself up with 1,000 things that could happen when only one of them can. There's only one result that could come out of this, and you're worried about 15 or 20 of them. Yeah, for sure. My mom was a little bit of a worrier, and I think that bled into me a little bit when I first dove into the realm of entrepreneurship. And then what happened was, I was like, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. I just want to go do the thing. And then when I did fail, or when things did go wrong, it kind of calloused and strengthened that muscle of like, hey, when they go wrong, I have the ability to figure it out. Yeah. And which is funny, because my dad was the exact opposite. I would fight with my brother, or something would happen. I'd run in and be like, Dad, da, 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 da. He'd be like, cool, figure it out. And I think it's so annoying at that time when you're young. You're like, help me solve my problem. But solving the problem probably would have been the worst parenting strategy known to man, because then I wouldn't have the confidence and the tools in the toolbox. But all right, I don't know what to do. I don't really know the path forward, but here's my imaginary machete, and I'm going to carve my own path. Yeah. And then solve my problem accordingly. And I think that's a great takeaway for people, is just things are going to go wrong. That's a guarantee. You want them to go wrong. Yeah. So I'll go back, man, we'll go the other way with this one, is the pruning process. Like if you have a tree and you want to grow fruit out of this tree, you don't just let it grow uninhibited. You prune it, you take care of it, you take off the branches that aren't producing fruit, the ones that are consuming water. You prune those things off, and you only prune those things through failures and hardships. And so in life, it's the same way. You want to find those mistakes. You want to find those vulnerabilities before they become so big and paramount that it's life-changing.
The Trident family taught me something really important this last year, that we are all a bundle of stories, both good, bad, and everything in between. All of their cold brews remind their customers that they are part of something bigger than themselves. I start my day with the Sweet Cream Cold Brew as I am prepping my mind and body for fitness, service, coaching, and podcasting. With various locations in San Diego, they offer over 14 nitro cold brews and a variety of specialty drinks. You can find the perfect brew and pair it with one of their treats from the Keto Bakery. You can check them out over at tridentcoffee.com and use code ALLSMITH to take your coffee experience to the next level.
Yeah. You talked briefly about the addiction. I want to go back to that a little bit. Was that around 22?
I was 22 years old. Yeah. September 15th, 1997. First drug I ever did, smoke crack cocaine.
And what was it that led you to that? Was it stress? Was it life? What was kind of, even going back a little further, what was your childhood and upbringing like that led you to that moment?
Can't blame it on the child and cannot blame it on that. There's no trauma in my life that led me to that, where I was running from anything, running from something. It wasn't that. Had the opportunity in my life. It was presented. I was around my brother and my brother's ex-wife at the time, somebody that I trusted. They had an addiction. I didn't realize the gravity of the addiction. I'd been around them when they were smoking crack before. I would drink beer. They would smoke crack. And it was just part of the relationship. Separated from the military, separated from my wife at the time, and then had lost all direction in my life. You were talking about your athletic journey. At that point, everything I had led up to me, career in the military, that's just who I had, from a young age, that's what I designed for myself. When I separated from the Air Force, I'd lost that direction. And those were the kind of the guardrails that kept me in sort of a lane. And then once those were gone, I everything was off the table. And so, I mean, it really started with, and I've had been asked this question many times, hey, you want to try it? And every time before it was like, no, it wasn't part of who I identified as. Hate to use those terms. It wasn't part of who I was, right? That day it was okay. Like those things that kept me from doing it before were removed. And so then it was like, yeah, why not? And then instant addiction.
Wow.
Instant.
It's so interesting because when you look at the military, when you look at high athletics and whatnot, they really are guardrails. But you don't realize it at the time. At the time, you're like, man, these people are controlling me. They're giving me this schedule. I can figure this out on my own. Like when you're young, you don't know what you don't know. And you're kind of just like playing the game because it does give you structure and routine and kind of unconscious competence moving forward. This is what I do. This is what I do every single day. This is the time of chow. This is when I attend class. This is when I go and I do my studying. This is when I connect with this person. You don't realize until that is gone. It's almost like playing basketball where there's no rules, there's no boundaries, and life is just like punching you in the face. You're drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
And like a part of you is like, whoa, I was so boggled down and kind of refraining from all this human experience that you almost are like, okay, I want to dabble with this experience. I'm going to find what's for me. You become this like open, explorative human being.
Yeah.
Which can be great if it's like travel and culture and done responsibly. And it can be good if with the integration of drugs for some people because they realize that's not what they want. But it can also lead down the path that you described, which is, oh, wow, this is instant addiction.
Yeah. It can. I can talk both ways about athletics and the military and the drive and all of those things. I would say that my purpose was unfounded in something at that point that I realize now. I mean, my purpose is in God. My purpose is in my family. It's in those things. And had my purpose been in that then, in these things then I probably wouldn't have gone off the rails. But it was those things because when you're young, you're idealistic. You have all these visions and dreams. We talked about it. It keeps you aspiring to something. It keeps you motivated and moving forward to something. It gives you those guardrails that is much needed for youth.
Yeah.
And it gives you an outlet. It's those outlets to go out and to beat the crap out of yourself on the basketball court or whatever it is. It gives you a physical outlet to something to be a part of. And there's so many good things that come from it. But once it's removed.
Totally. And I think as you get older, like when you're young, you're trying to win. And then as you get older, you're trying to outlast. You're not necessarily trying to win. You're trying to keep playing.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that if you do it for yourself, eventually you'll quit. But if you do it for others, you'll kind of keep going a little bit.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting is like you don't really learn that until later in life, which is why I always say like it's a mystery looking forward and it's science looking back. Like right now, you got great advice for 22-year-old self. But 22-year-old self wasn't in that arena. You were just like, I want escapism because I felt like I was in these golden military handcuffs for so long. And I want to spread my wings and go fly for a little bit.
Yeah. Had no clue. At that point, a person without direction will go anywhere. And had no clue where to go or what to do. Had lost all identity, lost everything in myself. So, I mean, what did I expect? I had no expectations. Yeah.
We talk often about that around transition. You have this identity that gets fortified and fostered when you're young. And that's what you know. That's 20 plus years of embarking on this journey, these attributes, these slogans, this story in your head. Now that changes. And my good friend Joe Musselman created the Honor Foundation, which is a phenomenal bridge for gentlemen and women that are in special forces trying to transition or assimilate into a civilian lifestyle. They don't really have that for athletes. I know a lot of athletes that have finished their career and get fat for a little bit and then try to go down a healing yoga journey. And then they're trying to figure out business, finances, entrepreneurship, trust the wrong people. Now their money's gone and they're figuring out what to do next.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts as to like that transitionary period as to how you kind of get to know yourself, reshape identity, and figure out that there are transferable skills from this life into this life?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand number one, that this too shall pass. It doesn't matter if I'm playing in the NFL, it's going to come to an end. And so what's very important is to see the whole story, right? To see the whole journey and understand who you want to be 10, 20 years from now. And I know it's kind of becoming cliche that I read all these things. People are putting that down now too. Like, hey, just go do now. No, like understand who you want to be, and then understand how the you that you are now becomes that person, and understand that the what you're doing right now doesn't define who you are ultimately going to become. And if your identity is in that, then you're going to be in trouble. You're going to have transition problems. If your identity is not in that, and your identity is in the bigger things, then the transition will become easier. But to have a transition, when I started Constructable, bring it back to business, I started with the end in mind. Like, hey, this is how I want to get out of this. This is what I want Constructable to live past me, and this is how I want to transition out of it. I want to do this for 10 years, and then I want to go do these other things. And so then I started with understanding what that was going to look like. And so I don't just get there one day, not only for me, but for my family. I don't just get there one day and then have to figure it out. I'm working towards that already.
Yeah.
And so it's really important for any of us to understand where we're at in life and how we're going to transition through it. And if you don't have a plan, you're going to be lost. You're going to wander.
Yeah, for sure. It's such a paradox of life because so many people are worried about the future or depressed about the future, depressed about the past. Oh, these things happened, which is why I am the way I am now. It formulates the narrative. And then they're anxious or worried about what could be in the future. So inevitably, they're really never in the present.
Yeah.
But the paradox of that is, like tomorrow's not promised. Just live in the now, Jared. And then that teaches you that you get dopamine from immediate gratification. So you lose the practice, the art, and the perspective of delayed gratification. And so then you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place of like, I hear you. I think we should plan for the future, and I think we should have something that we're aiming towards. But so many of us are like stuck over here because it's familiar territory. We're trying to play with historical reference that we're never here. Like, that's part of the reason why I tattooed. Be here now.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's tough.
I'm huge on this, and you'll hear me talk about having a plan in the future, but you have to, own now. You have to. I love that because it's so important for people to stop. I'm going to go a total different direction with this. Drives me nuts. I go to cool places all the time, and all I see is people in their phones taking pictures, living in their phone. Like stop doing that. It's cool to take a picture. I'm not saying you shouldn't, and I take too few. But man, just stop and enjoy life. Like totally assess where you are right now.
Yeah.
And own now. Like really enjoy being here. Know where you're going in the future and allow the past to shape you. Allow the past to shape you and know what you should and should not do to go to the future that you've designed. But own now. You got to live in your 3-foot world.
Yeah, I love that. I like that you said design, because something we talk about often is just lifestyle design. Design your morning, design your day, design your evening. Otherwise, life's going to get a hold of you, and you're going to be, as so many people talk about, just a cog in the wheel, living in a cubicle underneath artificial light, not doing anything that lights your heart on fire. And before you know it, that fogged 18 years, 22 to 40 passed by, and you spent the entire time just trying to make it to your pillow at night and pay your bills. But you didn't actually live. You existed.
Yeah.
And it's because society wants you to fall into the educational system of memorize these things to take the test. Then we're going to give you a numerical value of where you stand, and we're going to rate you. And then from there, you're going to get into the school that's going to put you in debt. And that's the system that we want you to be a part of, because then you're going to get some entry-level job. You're going to work your ass off to move up that job so you can pay off the debt from all these other things.
Right.
And then you're going to get 2 weeks vacation, kind of tickles your fancy for a second, makes you feel like you're sort of a human. And then as a byproduct, you're $40,000 in debt when you're in your mid-30s and you feel like you can't escape.
Yeah, there is no escape. And it's funny, the 2 weeks vacation probably gets you more in debt.
Yes.
Because you end up going to overspend and you indulge in things you probably should know. It's a whole...
It's a systemic thing that we gently talked about offline, but what it starts from is when we're children, the imagination and the curiosity that takes place before we start getting brainwashed within the structural system. But then going back to what you said, you need a system and you need guardrails to progressively move forward. And plus, modern day, both parents are typically working in order to make a living. So it's like now they're paying for childcare. School system kind of helps with that. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm curious to pick your brain about is like, what's the solution orientation? Because I'm over here pointing out the issues.
Yeah. Gosh, we have to have a good, honest view of those guardrails and what they mean in our lives, number one. Mm-hmm. Because if we're just living for basketball and it's our everything, it's going to go away. Even though they are your guardrails, if you don't have a good view of what that is in your life and what that fits in your future, then it's going to cause problems later. Oh, I could go a lot of directions with this, but just a good understanding of who, it all starts with who we are and what we are. Mm-hmm. It's that honest assessment of kind of got lost in my own thoughts. It's that honest assessment of where we're going and what we want to be and who we want to be.
Totally. Let me paint a case study for you.
Yeah.
You've got little Johnny. He's 5 years old. Both mom and dad work. Mm-hmm. And so they're sending him to some sort of pre-K before he goes off to kindergarten. You know, at that school, you know, you might be doing some activities physically, playing some kickball, some foursquare, some tag. And then they might be playing on some monkey bars or things like that. Okay, there's a little bit of English and math and learning how to socialize with other people. You're learning how to maybe have some nap time. The system doesn't really talk about health and nutrition, so you're basically getting a pre-made burrito or taquitos with a bag of chips and a really sugary beverage, whether that's a Gatorade, a chocolate milk, or some sort of like fruit juice. They don't realize that that's playing into the system, into the development of the human and what they're becoming addicted to. For little Johnny to even attend this schooling system while mom and dad are out trying to provide and protect, he had to have all these onslaught of vaccinations in order to even attend because it's dangerous. And if he's not a part of, you know, the vaccination process, then he's not welcome.
Yeah. And
so now you look at this systemic problem where, you know, I'm no rocket scientist. I'm not here to give medical advice, but everything I'm seeing in the MAHA movement and with RFK Jr. is that, hey, at the very least, some of these vaccines are dangerous.
Yep.
So to mandate them is kind of irresponsible. And then to move forward, these are the foods that are affordable, they're repeatable, they're scalable. They save the education systems money because they can mass produce them. But it's not really real food. It's full of hundreds of ingredients when you look at the ingredient profile. Mom and dad have this ideation of like, man, we want to work hard. We want to provide a better life for little Johnny. But they're basically like, rent is so expensive. We need health care. We need to pay the car payment. We're trying our best. We have to pay off our student loans. What's the solution here for the modern day American that's like, hey, I'm simply trying to do my best in a system that's setting me up to be sick?
Yeah, you've opened a whole Pandora's box there. And again, a lot of areas I could go, but it's the responsibility of the parents to own and be knowledgeable with every aspect of what they're doing to their children, every aspect of how they're getting fed, every aspect of that education. We have to, as the consumers of life, it is our responsibility to be knowledgeable of what we're consuming, and that's everything. Like, we should know what we're putting in our mouths. We should know the education, what our children are learning at school. Mm-hmm. And then furthermore, we've got to let go of some of the results, like little Johnny may not be great at math. And because we've got him in this system, he may fall behind and really develop a lot of problems because he struggles in math. And we're probably exacerbating it by the foods that we're feeding him. Mm-hmm. You know, we're putting labels and we're doing all of these things, and then we're starting to, I mean, that opens a whole nother Pandora's box with the medications and everything else that we go to. But it's our responsibility to understand what we're consuming, what we're doing, and what we're exposing ourselves to, not just us, but our children.
Yeah.
especially our children.
I think what's really important is control the controllables, because if I were to push back on that, I'd love to say it's our responsibility to control what we're putting in our mouth. But now I'm reading they're putting vaccines in our food. They're putting all these antibiotics in our food. They're spraying a peel on our organic ingredients from Mr. Bill Gates.
Right.
And so I think I'm putting good in my system, but I could be putting toxicity in my system. I think I'm making the right choice, but it's governmental manipulation that's now steering the ship and creating internal chaos that then gets labelized as, oh, little Johnny now has ADD. He has ADHD. Oh, he's on the autism spectrum. Oh, he's slow. Now he's less than. Now we're creating this ideology that he's not a high performer, that he can't be a go-getter. He's a problem. He's a distraction, and he's a symptom.
Yep.
And now the parents live with chronic worry. Now they're drinking too much. They're working too much. Now they're consuming all the things that create dopamine because they're worried about how to provide, protect, and lay a red carpet for little Johnny's future.
Yeah, for sure. And these are hard things. These are hard issues.
Yeah.
Like this is not easy.
No.
But it is our responsibility. And to answer your first question about how do we know, unfortunately you can't. You got to have some faith, but it is our responsibility. How many people out there are really going to get their blood checked a couple times a year? Like really see what toxins and inflammation they have going on inside their body? How many people are really going out and owning their healthcare, owning the responsibility to go seek professionals, and not just the medical institution, but really interviewing a doctor and saying, hey, I want to find a doctor that aligns with my vision and aligns with what I want to get out of my medical care, and going out and really owning that.
Yeah, that's really well said. And I also think it goes back to responsibility and awareness.
Yeah.
Because the body is it's going to tell you stuff.
Yes.
And if you are really in tune to listening, not just listening to the news and social media and experts and other people, but listening to self. Okay. As you get older, how's my sleep? How's my sex drive? What does my skin look like? How's my hair growing? How are my fingernails and my toenails?
Yeah.
What's going on with my athletic performance? Am I hitting the same times that I was hitting before? Compare and contrast. What's my inflammatory markers like? Am I taking smooth and clean, having bowel movements that seem relatively healthy, or are they loose and discombobulated? Do I need to integrate some sort of probiotic, symbiotic? I love seed symbiotic. It's a great tool. What's going on with our relationship to the sun? How are we breathing? Are we mouth breathing up into the scalenes, into the chest, where we're almost like a panting dog that's anxious all the time? Or can we move down a little bit and go nasally and get into the belly and the rise and fall of the belly? What's our relationship, not just with movement, but are we lifting things? How's our bone density? Can we incorporate a DEXA scan once or twice a year so this data can now help steer the ship of our behavior?
Can we or should we?
I like that.
That's the question. Is it's our responsibility? Are we going to own it? And are we going to own the what are we modeling for our children? Number one. It's funny. We didn't even talk about this before, but I leave from here and I go get a whole body scan. I go get MRIs. I go get from here. That's where I'm going. Get all my blood checked, and I get my blood checked 4 times a year because I want to own it. Because I have that responsibility. I want to be a dad for my daughters as long as I possibly can. One of the biggest things is grip strength. Did you
Farmer carries.
Yeah, you can tell a person's health by their grip strength. And so what are we doing to improve that? I mean, what are we doing as a society to make sure that we're feeding our bodies and we're building our bodies for longevity the way that we should be?
I smirk on that because I get pushback on this all the time. But I have this thing for my clients called the Dirty 30.
Okay.
And so when they walk into the gym, it's 30 cals on a machine, usually the assault bike.
Yeah.
30 push-ups, 30 air squats, 30 of some sort of pull, either strict pull-up or ring row.
Okay.
30 burpees. And they don't have to be fast. Just accumulate the reps. And I always like to think of it in threes, like 10 really slow, 10 moderate, 10 fast, kind of setting the tone. The first 10 too is kind of like letting go of the day or whatever stresses you came in with. And then the last thing is a 400-meter farmer carry.
Okay.
And what's so cool about it is that it's volume accumulation. I see most of my clients 2 to 3 times a week. So that's now 60 to 90 of those reps before we even begin our session. it holds them accountable. So they're not waiting on me. They now have personal responsibility to execute said task. This is homework assignment before we begin.
Yeah.
Responsibility, accountability, things that hit here.
Yeah.
And then what's interesting is they come in, they're sweaty, they're focused, they're a little bit fatigued. I'm usually the common enemy. But the outward perception sometimes is, oh, you just wanted them to, to do something while you're doing this. It's like, you don't get it.
Yeah.
You're not understanding that this is actually going to change people's lives over the course of time. And guess what? Your job as a coach is to eventually remove yourself. If that's all somebody did was that dirty 30 with the farmer carry 2 to 3 times a week, they are now better off than 90% of the world.
I was going to say 99. Yes.
Right. And
Yeah.
so in my brain, I'm like, for those of you listening, you're seeking fitness direction, integrate something of that sort. And if we don't have the ability to execute said task, shoot myself or Jared a DM and we can absolutely customize something that fits your needs, because people need to have the responsibility to move more and be an example to their community so that way they can better serve.
Right. Yeah, you show up different. Your energy's different. Every way you show up, if you are doing anything physically active, it affects the entire way you show up in the world. I mean, I'm big on just, my guys love it because I do push-ups all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm big on push-ups. If you can't do anything, just do some push-ups.
Yep.
If you can't do push-ups, then do a plank.
Yep.
Like do something.
Yeah. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication is one of my favorite lines ever. How did you get introduced? So at 22, you're navigating addiction. Mm-hmm. The business hadn't really been evolved yet.
Yep. And
then eventually you became kind of into this coaching space with Rise Up Kings.
Yeah.
What kind of took place when, how did you even realize you had an addiction? And then what took place for you to kind of get your act together?
I knew I had an addiction when I tell a story about, because on crack, I would go for I would go on a bender, I'd binge it, and then I would be clean for a long time. But then when I knew it was really uncontrollable is I'd be driving home from work and the thought would come in my head of, oh, I should go get some cocaine. And then I'm like, I would immediately realize, well, where did that come from? And then I would be overwhelmed with the fear, because I knew that within a couple of days I would be going to buy some. I knew that was the precursor that I was about to go on a bender. And so then that's when I knew I had an issue. I knew it had controlled me to a level that I'd never been controlled before. And for the first time in my life, I was completely out of control with it. Mm. And so that's when I knew. And then that's when and this is really early on. I mean, this is within a year. And so then trying to recover, and then finally recovering from that. And then so recovered in 2007.
Congratulations.
Thank you. This is 2025. So I'm, almost 20 years down that, and it's still such a journey, right? So how do I go from there to being a coach? Well, I talk about vulnerability. Like, I had to get really real with what was causing the addiction, because there were so many signs of the behavior before the drugs ever came. When you're looking back, you get to see it all. So many signs of the behavior before the drugs were ever introduced that I had to start dealing with those things. I had to start dealing with, for me, it was entitlement. For me, it was entitlement. I was mad because the Air Force outsourced my job. Like, I felt entitled to it. Like I felt slighted because you robbed from me something that I deserved. And I had so many other things that I could go do, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, but I chose not to. But then I blamed them. I was a victim. We talked about victimhood. So I was a victim. Entitlement about college, entitlement about athletics, entitlement about a lot of, everything in my life was just such a victim of entitlement. Once I got really real from that, then that opened the door for me to take an honest and open look inside myself. And then we talked about this before we got on, was once that happened, once that ball was set in motion, then it was a snowball. It gave me the ability and the desire to really go hey, what's next? Like now that I've dealt with this entitlement, this sense of entitlement, and I see the results of how that has changed me to be the man that I'm called to be, what's next? What else am I not seeing? And then it just grew from there, at 20-year journey to now. I realized a few years ago, and I never wanted to be a speaker. I never wanted to be on podcasts. This wasn't what I wanted to be. But I realized the responsibility of doing it, number one. And then once I realized that what coming and sitting and talking to you, or helping guys that are really struggling through life, men and women that are struggling through things, what it does to help them, really, it's self-serving to me too, because it still allows me to look inside of myself. It still provides the fuel for me to keep going and getting better. Yeah,
what you give, you also need gentle reminders of as well.
For sure. And what I see, what's great is because the problems that I see in you are the things that if you're really going to be honest about it, it's the things that I have issues with myself.
Yeah.
So if I don't like the way, whatever it is, how you're showing up, it's because I show up that way and I have a problem with it.
Interesting.
And so it's a mirror. Anytime I get to coach somebody, I get that mirror.
Yeah.
And by helping them, you're giving it away, but man, you just become a better person. And then you have more tools which you can go help other people.
Mm-hmm. I love the line from Tony Robbins: if you exchange expectation for appreciation, your world changes forever. At that time when you became aware of the entitlement, which I'm sure that was its own journey to try to even figure out what's wrong with me. That's a hard question, right? Why do I keep going back to this thing? I think it's going to fix something. And then, right? If you have the dangling carrot, or if you have the incentive, you can mold behavior.
Yeah.
And so clearly there was some sort of incentive or thing that you were getting, whether that was a high or whatever. Mm-hmm. But alone we can do a little bit, but together we can do so much.
For sure.
So at that moment, were you actually able to do it on your own? Or did you bring in somebody that could maybe help you, heal you, have honest conversations, a sponsor maybe that you could call and kind of redirect you onto the path? How did that look for people listening that maybe are battling addiction? How do they do that when they get that knock on the door from the addiction?
Yeah, first of all, I don't believe that any one addiction is the same. But that said, there's also a lie in saying I'm so different. I'm never going to get this because of whatever. You think you're so much different. That separation keeps you from freedom. But each person is a little bit different, and what works for somebody doesn't necessarily work for everybody. To answer your question was the community. I love the word community now. And it's the community of people that were really sowing into my life at my worst. It was the people that came and prayed over me through, I had 3 serious suicide attempts and was in a coma for 10 days. And the people that came and just prayed over me and just sat with my mom during those times, even though I'm trying to end it all and ruin everybody else's life, they're still there to support. And then when I started to get the desire to change, it was having those people in my life that were willing to be there at my worst, that were still willing to walk alongside of me then. And
Wow.
I use the term a lot, man. We as men, we lock arms together and we journey through life. And it is truly that, is find somebody to lock arms and find somebody that's going to be, that you care and respect enough about, that will hold you accountable, and then give them permission to speak into your life. Mm-hmm. Give them permission to say, dude, you're effing up and you need to check yourself.
Yeah.
Out of love.
Yeah. I love the word love. I think it has so many different meanings. But when you talk about the suicidal ideation, I've been there before. Mm-hmm. I've been through some tough things, and that brings up a lot. I'm very thankful to have a better understanding as to how that impacts others now.
Yeah.
But in the moment, you're so consumed by your own experiences and why me, the victimhood, not understanding why you don't really feel seen, heard, or understood. And you think, you know what, this is just going to make it easier. This is going to make the pain go away. How did you learn in that moment and make the necessary changes? And what was the experience with a coma like?
It was later that I had the experiences to change. I want to say something to what you said, and this is my experience. I can't speak for anybody else's. I had the suicide attempt around, it's just going to be so much better for everybody else. But it was such a selfish piece. I couldn't live with myself anymore, but I clothed it with, I'm going to make it easier on everybody else.
Yeah.
That's the lie. That's the lie that we tell
ourselves. That's where the enemy sneaks in. Because I can relate to that exact thought. You feel like you're a burden to everybody.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So I love that you said it's the lie of the enemy, because I believe it's spiritual. I believe you're being attacked. And I believe that that's the lie that it's sold off of, that you're just going to make it easy on everybody else. And you need to do this. And so you're willing to put yourself through, it's an end. I mean, it's an end. So you're willing to do that. So, and it's a lie. It's not for everybody else. It's for you. It's because you can no longer live with yourself and the things that you're doing and what that's causing them to do.
What was your perspective once you came out of a coma, thinking about your mom's lenses watching you?
Yeah. It was surreal. Like and something else I want to say, this is my experience, but I believe all addicts, man, when they come, they're like, man, I just want to get help. And if I just want these things. And I believe that there's so much truth to that. A lot of people say, no, they're just trying to manipulate you so they can go back. No, I believe that there's a heart there, and that heart of person, that heart of man is true and it's genuine. Mm-hmm. And maybe there is some people trying to manipulate, but coming out of those experiences, you just have the desire, and you see the hurt and the pain that you're causing them. And then for me, the last time when I went into the coma, it was the realization of, oh gosh, like had this happened, had I truly killed myself, like how much pain and remorse and resentment, how much would I have given my mom and my dad to pick up? Mm-hmm. Like how much doubt and fear and all of those things would I have caused them to pick up and live with? Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of that realization, and it grew. Thank God it grew from there. But it was that realization of coming out of the coma. But the desire to change, the desire to be different. But it still took a lot of years. Still took a lot of years because for me there was a switch. I mean, my great thinking back then is I'm gonna cure my crack addiction by starting to sell meth. I mean, that was my cure. Mm-hmm. And it worked for a little bit, but then meth consumes your life and everything around you. And so that was another 3 or 4 years till the final end. And mm-hmm. then, walking away, having God, truly praying one day, and then having God provide the way out, and then not looking back.
Yeah, totally. How much truth is there to the concept of most people won't change until they hit rock bottom?
I hear a lot of stuff about this lately too. Everybody's rock bottom is different. Mm-hmm. You said it earlier that a person, if they're not eating right, they're not going to change until they have until they have the effects, till something happens to make them change. Addiction's the same way. Until you're having effects in your life that are adverse and to the point that it's painful enough for you that you want to change, that's when change is really going to start happening. Mm-hmm. You have to be woken up. You have to realize that something needs to change because you're having adverse reactions in your life. So totally. You have to hit rock bottom, mm-hmm. and that bottom's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm. So you go through this experience. Mm-hmm. You now are on the other side, and you're like, wow, like sharing my experience can help love, motivate, and inspire other people to climb their way out of their rock bottom. But at this point, you don't have a ton of financial resources.
Yeah.
You're fresh out of the military. Mm-hmm. You're starting from an entrepreneurial rock bottom now. And you're trying to share your story. You're trying to get people to believe in you, mm-hmm. to now take this thing on an upward trajectory according to your vision and your dreams, which is really exciting and brings back that childlike mindset in the beginning. But for people that are looking to start their entrepreneurial journey and kind of take their story and put it into context where it's relatable, motivational, and inspirational, where do they start? How do they do it?
We said this earlier, you start right where you're at. You decide why do you want to do what you want to do, number one, because the why matters. Mm-hmm. The why truly matters. So once you come to terms with why you want to do whatever decision you're making, start a business, be an entrepreneur, why do you want to do it? Start with what do you want to get out of it? What is the end? Is it financial security for my family? What does that financial security look like? And listen, the best laid plan goes to waste, right? But you have a plan. If you have a plan to execute, then it keeps you within those guardrails. Mm-hmm. But start with why you want to do it, what you really want to get out of it. what that purpose is, and then really start to backfill into all of the other answers. And I was just telling somebody that listen, you may want to buy a business this year, and that may not be the thing, that may not be your passion, but it may be the means to get to your passion. Mm-hmm. The cool thing when I started Constructable is what I realized. I used to love building buildings. I used to walk around, and I built buildings across the country, and I built that. And now I've realized that through this journey that it's not the buildings that I love building. It's the teams, it's the people, it's being around. I mean, the coaching and all that stuff. So like that's not how it started out for me, but I had the vision in mind that allowed me to get to the answer.
That's cool.
And then executing on it. Start where you are right now.
For people that don't know, what is Constructable?
So we're an industrial construction company. We primarily service the energy sector, whether that's building gas plants. We do a lot of alternative energy. We build operations and maintenance buildings on wind farms, solar farms, but we build structures on industrial plants primarily.
That's right. Does that really light your heart on fire, knowing this this challenge in the future with oil, with gas, with EV, and all the changes as to how people are managing their energy sources?
Yeah, I want to be real clear about this. First of all, I'm not the expert, but if you look at what's going on in the world, we are consumers of energy on a whole different level than ever before. We are consuming energy at such a faster rate each year because of data centers and all of these other big consumers of power than we can produce. And so it's a problem that we're going to have to solve. And so it is cool to be part of that movement. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah, it's a cool space.
It definitely answers it. And it's also, like you said, it's a cool space because you're solving a problem, or at least a part of the solution to a problem that's inevitably going to happen. To give people some education and some context, what are your thoughts on first solar power? Because I mean, we're seeing solar everywhere on homes.
Yep.
We're seeing it used nonstop. It seems to be like the answer.
Yep.
And most people don't totally conceptualize how like it gets absorbed and then goes back into the grid, and then they get some sort of refund. They think it's going to go directly to their house. Can you give some education and some insight on solar on homes?
Yeah, I think first of all, we have the opportunity to utilize solar on homes, and as a way as we build shelters, and if we can capture energy through those things, then I think it's our responsibility. The problem is there's some effects that people don't understand on the other side of it. We have to mine for metals. We are how much energy is consumed in making those solar panels and making better solar panels, and then what happens when there's a hailstorm, and then the degradation of the solar panel itself. I mean, what you get out of a solar panel on year 1 is a lot different than what you get out of it on year 5. And so,
what do you mean by that?
Well, the amount of energy that it absorbs the same amount of sunlight, but the amount of energy that it'll actually produce degrades.
Okay.
So you have solar panel degradation. It still, just like a wind turbine, people think it spins and it's going to produce the same amount of energy. No, the pieces inside of that wind turbine start to degrade as well, and it becomes less efficient. And so if you have a 4 megawatt a turbine, it's going to start at 4 megawatt, and then it's going to with each turn, it produces less and less power. Same thing with the
aging process affects everything, I guess.
Everything, absolutely everything. And the funny thing is the question you didn't ask is do I think solar panel and wind are the future? They're part of the future, but they aren't the solution. They aren't the solution. It takes so much without the government subsidy. And listen, I'm in a business that I capitalize on some of that. I mean, I own 2 businesses, Constructable and Destructible. And Destructible, all we focus on is the demolition of wind turbines. And then we take all of the materials and we keep them out of landfills. So we're recycling 100% of a wind turbine when they come down. So my businesses, I profit off of that industry. I don't think it's the end. I don't think it's the solution. I don't think we've yet reached the solution for longevity and sustainability. It's not just in the nation. It's not just as a people. I mean, we're still looking for those solutions.
For sure. What are your thoughts on all the political conversations around, right now here in California, they're raising gas prices. trying to move people towards electric vehicles. You've got Gavin Newsom really pushing that.
Yeah.
And then you've got, on the other side of the coin, you've got Elon and Tesla, being a little bit volatile in the political market. But then there's a lack of understanding of, hey, maybe it requires less gasoline. Cool. But in order to get that Tesla lithium battery, what's required? And we're seeing both sides of the coin. It's hard to make that decision and understand if you're living up to the responsibility of bettering the environment. And is it better for the environment? Is it not? Is it more convenient? You're driving these vehicles, but there's way more gas stations than there are charging stations. So that creates a problem as well.
Well, it's just the construction of the battery itself. Just the lithium battery and what it takes to go get that lithium and manufacture that battery, the life of that battery, what's the real life of it, and then what happens to that material after. Mm-hmm. And so, just that single question in itself makes you wonder, is it really the answer? And I'm not smart enough to say yes or no. I think it's responsible that we explore all options, but we need to openly look at the results of everything upstream and downstream. We have to look at the impacts of it in its entirety, not just on, hey, how much carbon monoxide are we averting by going to an e-vehicle.
Mm-hmm. From a business standpoint, it's really smart that you're on the building side and the destruction side.
You just
gave deconstruction
side. You gave me a lot of credit that I don't deserve. It's not really smart. I walked through a door that was opened, and it's been good. So there was a problem, and I had a gentleman approach me who I'm partners with in Destructible, and we're like-minded in a lot of ways, and he was in the industry already, and it was something so close that I knew it wasn't like I was going to go into an industry that I didn't know. I already knew the clients. I already knew the customer base. I already knew the technology. I knew how these things operated. And so it was a no-brainer for me. Mm-hmm. And it's a big issue.
Yeah.
There's over 580,000 wind turbines that are going to come down in the United States over the next 20 years because they've reached their end of life. Mm-hmm. And then what are we going to do with those things? These big 6-ton fiberglass blades, are we just going to put them in the landfill? Somebody's got to do something. And so that's what we're trying to tackle.
Yeah, it's really smart to notice that problem, have the mathematical equation to know that it has some longevity with regards to your business operations, and then realize, hey, this can obviously help fund at least something that's contributing towards a value.
Yeah.
And then taking away something that can be devalued or a problem later on as far as landfill and taking up space and being a waste.
Yeah, we talk a lot about when you have a business, and again, another conversation I was having today about sales, and really when you're trying to sell something, I'm not trying to sit down and sell you something. I'm trying to solve a problem for you. Mm-hmm. So when you go into business, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about a minute ago, becoming an entrepreneur, you want to know that you're solving a problem. If there's no problem out there for you to solve, then you're not going to be successful. Mm-hmm. You have a hobby. So if a business issue, you're solving a problem. And so we've been presented with some really good problems, and man, you don't have to have all the answers. You asked, where do you start with this stuff? We came together and we're like, hey, these people are trying to do some things and we don't think they're doing it real well. So we're going to jump in. We're going to jump in the mix on this, and we're really going to go try to create a solution that is different, significantly different, and solve a problem that nobody else is trying to tackle. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where you, especially the American spirit, man, that's where you really get innovation, and you really get, you transcend just hobbies, and you start to integrate in society, and you make society function even better.
Yeah, for sure. I want to pivot our conversation a little bit because you mentioned American innovation. Mm-hmm. There's beauty and there's turmoil in that.
Yeah.
And where I think, and it's a little bit pessimistic, but I'm just going to use the sun as an example. One of the most healing things on the planet. Mm-hmm. Your face is exposed to the sun more than anything else. Very rarely do we see people with face melanoma. It's usually all the other areas that are lathered in the various types of sunscreen. If I'm incorrect here, I apologize, but I'm pretty certain that there's been a huge onslaught of sunscreens, specifically from Johnson & Johnson, that have been taken off the market because they've had ingredients that have been cancer-causing. What I'm curious here, now we're seeing Johnson & Johnson being associated with cancer treatment.
Yeah.
Well, now we have companies that are causing the problem because they want a consistent client or patient so they can solve the problem. That creates cyclical business. And so Sun becomes a fear-mongering tactic so they can sell product A to then funnel you towards an insurance model that then utilizes product B. And the fear is that, oh, you have to use this for the rest of your life. I mean, I could have used statins as an example with cholesterol. I just happened to use the Sun.
Yeah.
And we're seeing this cyclical association where it's great business, but it's horrible from a humanity standpoint. And I'm curious your thought process there.
Gosh, I want to. It's hugely political, and I'm not scared to get into it. I think there's so many things so many businesses that are in this kind of for the wrong reason. I would hope that Johnson & Johnson got in this and created an issue unknowingly, and then is trying to create a solution to resolve the issue. But unfortunately, it's hard to see that. It's hard to see the intent because of the big corporate, especially big pharma. I mean, it's so big in the United States. And we have so many instances where companies take cigarette, take tobacco industry, same type of thing. They've causing all these problems, and then you have all the propaganda that goes in. It's all just for profit. It's an issue. I mean, we talked about being informed, and we need to be informed as people. And we should take responsibility for everything that we're putting into our bodies and on our bodies, and really be informed and make decisions. I shouldn't make my decisions based on you. I should make my decisions based on some of your input and take that as an input, but not the input. Take that across the board.
I mean, you think about science, I have this hypothesis.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to do an experiment, and then I'm going to have some sort of result. And, you know, when I hear trust the science, I don't know that I like that, because it's like, okay, here's the thing that you're saying is a hypothesis, or here's the problem, here's the experiment. And then over here, it's like, okay, you might have some result, but you're also seeing a lot of problems, a lot of risk. You're seeing the myocarditis stuff from the vaccine. You're seeing long-form COVID. You're seeing, like, if you want the truth, like, follow the money.
Yeah.
You're seeing things like, you know, Beyond Burger that I'm like, that's not real food. There's like all these onslaught of ingredients, and it's like, okay, maybe long-term regenerative agriculture is tough. It's tough to bring in, you know, healthy cattle. You're trying to fatten them up. You're trying to sell. You're trying to play the game of capitalism. But what I'm curious about here is, like, we're so deep into this rabbit hole that, like, you're right. Maybe it was like, hey, this was created because our knowledge and understanding was that the sun was causing melanoma and skin cancer. We didn't realize at that moment in time that, like, absorbing vitamin D was so valuable to human health. Now we're trying to undo this first mistake with this over here. But I feel like at some point, like, yeah, it's a pain in the ass, but you can course correct. But when people are making that much money and there's so much investment into the upfront education and research, that let's just say hypothetically you're $1 billion in debt by paying for the research and, you know, grants and all the different things that go into the scientific studies and stuff over here, that now over here it's almost like, well, we have to fix this monetization issue over here in order to keep moving forward.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for this about corporate America and how really corporations work, and publicly traded corporations, because they're just for profit. They are graded on what they do for their stockholders. They are graded on what they do for their board. They're graded on what they do for their corporate executives. So it's hard for them to really. It's hard for us, number one, to look at them like they're going to do the right thing. And it's hard for them to do the right thing because there's no incentive in it. There's no incentive in coming in and saying, yes, what we produced, we didn't understand we were producing sunscreen 30 years ago or 50 years ago. And we did all of these tests, and we went through a 2-year clinical trial on it, and it produced the results that we were looking to produce, but we didn't understand all the other ramifications of it. And then to go back and course correct 20 years later when we realized, hey, all the heavy metals we put in that are causing more issues. And so how do we solve that problem? We've created a society where it's profitable, and where our expectation is they run from it.
Yeah.
And then they cause more problems. I mean, you fix problems with other problems.
Well said. Where does God fit into all this? Right? We need faith, because you look at this and it's easy to develop this conspiracy, psychological pessimism of the world. I like to look at it as curiosity.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm genuinely curious. Like I'm not blaming Johnson & Johnson. I'm just like, hey, I'm noticing a pattern, and this pattern is like kind of not passing my smell test. Especially when things are mandated and I'm seeing certain behaviors and then certain information that's given, certain that's not. It feels iffy, and my intuitive sense is just like, all right, red flag. Not saying it's right, but it's there. So then, you think about, okay, following my plan hasn't really worked.
Yeah.
Following his plan has worked. But when you say that to people, like some people like are all in on that, and then some people are like, what are you talking about? That's like woo woo. I don't really get it. Like that's just, something you can throw into the equation to try to create some sort of belief in a broken system.
The coolest thing about it that I love about God and my calling to God is I truly get to let go of the results. I truly get to let go of the results. I show up every day, and man, I fail at this too, but I get the opportunity to show up every day, give it to him, follow what he has for me. And then whatever he produces from that is up to him.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I have the opportunity to share with you what's worked for me. And then you have the opportunity to pick it up and take it. There's so much freedom with God. I had to have all the answers before. Like I had to have all the answers, and I had to be in control. And then when things didn't go my way, there had to be an answer for that too. And with God, once I really found God, once I really found Christ, there was a freedom from all of that. Like I don't have to know. I just have to trust. I have to trust that as long as I keep following the way that he calls me to do, the way that the path that he has put me on, that it's going to work out. And just keep going and go after that hard.
Yeah. How do you create buy-in with people that haven't experienced that yet? Because I definitely, just to give context, like we grew up Christian, and my father was the son of a priest.
Yeah.
And my dad didn't really like the hypocrisy that he saw in his dad
Yep.
and in other people. So he basically was like, hey, I'm not going to mandate that our family goes to church, but he was like, here's a Bible. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them to the best of my ability. You're welcome to go with your friends. And I want this to be your journey. I want you to explore with it. And, it was a part of our life. Like my mom would say certain things like, don't do anything you have to look over your shoulder about. Do the next right thing. Like put your grocery cart away. Things that have religious ideation. And my parents always pushed, like there's a difference between quoting scripture and actually living it. Like they definitely wanted us to like be on the right path. But it wasn't really like, we didn't go to church every Sunday. So I felt like I didn't really have like a deep, meaningful relationship with God until all the bad things started happening. I wasn't the person that like started praying and asking for something. So I was like, well, I want to give before I ask for something. But then all of a sudden I came familiar with the story of Job and how, God and the devil had that conversation, and he's like, oh, check out my prize human. And his life just gets tortured to turmoil. All of his friends and family died, financial distress, and he just endures and endures. And it gave me hope. And on the other side of that, then I was like, okay, I'm just going to simply create an awareness into the world. And like things started happening that I was like, oh, it's synchronicity, coincidence, right place at the right time, met that person, got the opportunity to walk through that door. But then so many things were happening that I was like, okay, like I need to be more open to this. I was a little open to it, but I need to be more open to this.
Yeah.
And then I started attending church, and I started meeting more people and having these types of conversations. And I was like, you know what? The majority of people that at least attend or are active in their relationship with God seemingly have a better life. Those that don't, not that they have a bad life, but there's a longing, or there's an emptiness or a loneliness that they're seeking. And I'm not saying that everybody has that perspective, but I felt that, and it created some buy-in for me. at least for you, what created your original buy-in? And then when you're sharing your spoken word and experience, how does that help connect other people to this experience?
Couple things. Number one, what started me was hitting rock bottom. Like literally I prayed, God, I can't do this. Like I've tried my best way and I'm willing to change anything if you'll get me out of this. And then my life significantly started changing within 24 hours. And not the way that I wanted, but then the way that I saw. I'm like, oh, wow. For the first time in my life, I was willing to see that I was getting the results that I just asked for. And maybe it wasn't the results that I wanted, but maybe it led to where I wanted to go. And so there was not just freedom in that, but there was joy in that. So gratitude in that. I've gone through some of tragedy of losing a son, addiction, just life has hit me hard. But would I look back and change any of it? Man, I wouldn't, because I wouldn't be sitting in this chair. I wouldn't have the opportunity to be a dad to my daughter. I wouldn't have the opportunity to be a husband to Stephanie. I wouldn't have the opportunity to, and it's not just about owning the business, but to affect the people's lives that we affect every day. I wouldn't have those opportunities. So I would not change the things that I've gone through. I have gratitude for the things that I've gone through because they've molded me into who I am today. And thank God I'm not that punk 22-year-old.
Yeah. Who at that time wanted the stuff with the Air Force, wanted this job, wanted this connection. It's so fascinating because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so you just got to keep on going, but it's so easy to say, so hard to do.
What would I have done with it then? I would have squandered it. Like I had no clue what to do with it then. All the opportunities, relationships, and everything else, it would have been about me. It would have been about transactional relationships. It would have been so bad. I had to have the experiences that I had so that I could find appreciation and it could take something and grow.
Yeah, totally.
Free is the way to be. Life beats us up a bit and causes some bumps and bruises, but that doesn't mean we have to stay on the sidelines. This is why we've partnered with Kinyan Labs. Get back to doing what you love with this incredible portable device designed to get you back in the game. Kinyan is on a mission to move people from pain to possible with their top-rated red light therapy and laser solution, which tackles inflammation along with muscle and joint pain quickly and effectively. What I love is that it's portable and rechargeable, making it easy to actually incorporate into my everyday life consistently. It's small and lightweight, so you can throw it in your gym bag or work bag, or even an overnighter. Kinyan's lasers and LED combo make this cutting-edge device extremely versatile for use with general aches and pains, as well as chronic back pain, arthritis, post-surgery recovery, endometriosis, and more. This has been an amazing tool keeping my elbows and knees pain-free for pressing, pulling, and squatting in the gym. Great tools like the Move Plus give me the freedom and flexibility to continue living life on my terms without limitations. There are a lot of reasons why over 15,000 people are using this device and rating it 4.7 stars and above. Head on over to kinyan.io and use code ALLSMITH at checkout to begin your pain-free
Anytime
journey.
there's a transition, there's a lonely chapter. You're not really connecting with the people over here, and you're not really in alignment with the people over there yet.
Yeah.
So it's like you're leaving the military, you're trying to figure out what's next. You're kind of with family that you trust, you kind of go down the wrong path. Then you find God, you overcome addiction, and now when you're in this next chapter of life, and you've talked about the importance of community. And Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another.
Yeah.
And you think about the component of community, but you're in that isolation. You're trying to figure out self-help. You're trying to heal. You're trying to grow. In some ways, it's kind of like you against the world. How'd you kind of find community in that moment in time?
Stumbled through it. Had the right people in my life, and it was iterations upon iterations, and just keep getting exposed to men like you that would continue to walk with me, and maybe only for a season, but they continue to be and sow in my life, and then allow me to sow in their lives, and really true definition of community,
Yeah.
and just fumbling through it. The enemy wants us to be in isolation, truly wants to sift us from the flock, because then you can be devoured.
What are your thoughts there on, you talked about people walking with you for a season. That's hard, right? Because we almost have this like codependency of like, man, that person was there when nobody else was. I love them. I appreciate them. We've had so much fun. But then life happens, right? Like you move in this direction, you move in that direction, your interests change, your finances change, whatever. Maybe you had business, connection together, and then that fades. How did you kind of play with the idea of forgiveness, discernment, abandonment, and just that component of like, man, they don't see me anymore. I'm this new person. They liked me for that thing over there, or they only love what I can do for them. They don't love who I am. There's a lot of intriguing, but also negative thoughts and stories that we can tell ourselves, but then it can also be positive when spun a different direction.
Yeah, it can be. I just finished reading a book a couple months ago, and it talked about how you encounter somebody, you basically have those expectations. You have those preconceived notions about that person for the rest of their lives. So the people that met me when I was deep in my addiction, they see me as an addict for the rest of my life. And so if you get stuck in that, you will always live with that stigma. You will always have that stigma without a fresh interjection of new influences in your life. And so life is, I think that's how life is built. And it's funny because you're so idealistic when you're young. You think all your friends, we're going to be best friends forever. And it's just not that way.
Yeah.
And so you have to learn to, man, we just said it a while ago, just really be present where you are right now. Cherish the people that are in your life to the fullest, and know that they're here right now, and don't look too far behind and don't look too far ahead. Yeah.
There's a stubbornness in me that doesn't like to let go of people. It likes to check in on them every now and then. And, modern day, you get involved in ghosting culture. You're like, man, like, I'm thinking of you. I think there's some sort of synergy here, but you don't hear back. And it's this process of letting go.
Yeah.
And realizing, like you said, that's a part of the journey. But then the other part of that is like internalizing, what did I do wrong? How can we help? But I think what that has led to, at least in my healing journey, is it's less important to be liked and more important to be respected.
Yeah. Yeah. We do have to let go of the notion to want to be liked. If we want to be liked, we're going to go the way of the world, and that's never going to turn out good. I mean, we can't be truly friends. I couldn't be a friend of you if I was worried about you just liking me. There's no way. So, but
there's a maturity that is a part of that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is very difficult to elevate and kind of hold on to long term. But in that learning process, it allows you to become a better human.
Yeah, hopefully it calls you to be a better human, for sure. For sure. I think without the exposure of new people and new influences in your life, then we become stagnant. I have a mantra, and the mantra ends with, I will battle the status quo. And so the only way I can battle the status quo is constantly surrounding myself by people that are calling me up and calling me to be better. And I love surrounding myself with people that are really just going after life hard. And I mean, everything that we've talked about. And so, and some people fall off. I mean, some people reach a season in their life where they want to slow down or they want to do something different. And that's great. I'll love them through that too.
Yeah.
But for me, I mean, I'm taking the next step.
Yeah, I like that. Another one that I want to bring to your mind is Romans 12:2, which is, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. This was the verse when I first started reading the Word that just hit me like a ton of bricks. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Talking a lot about this lately. We have the opportunity. It's a daily relationship and a daily rededicate your life every day to Christ. That's what he calls us to do, is get up. But it's a daily renewing of your mind as well. And so you have to constantly be willing to allow your mind and your views to be challenged and to be molded to be who God called you to be today.
Mm-hmm.
The cool thing is I get up every morning now and I renew my relationship as a father to my daughters. I renew my relationship as a husband to my wife. And then we get the opportunity to start over.
How do you coach men from just believing into taking action and doing? Because that famous line from James 2:17, faith without works is dead.
For sure. Another thing that I love to talk about is your prayer life aligning with your actual life. Are you living out your prayer life? It's one thing to go out and say, God, I help me to be in good shape. But if you're not going out to do the things to be in good shape, it's probably not going to happen. Mm-hmm. And so by coaching people, you start to get that. And this is everything else that we talked about is you start to expose their actions and their mindsets of what they're doing and the results that they want to get, and then start to change their daily habits and routines. Mm-hmm. And by changing those daily habits and routines, then even with the Bible, I mean, you got to get up every day. You don't have to do what's successful for me, but I get up every day. I pray, I read, I want to spend time in the Word. And some days I just, I'm like everybody else. I get up and I just do it to do it. But those days are important too. Mm-hmm. Those days produce fruit too.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like getting into the gym, right? Like the consistency is so much more important than the intensity.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are like, man, like I just don't feel it today. I'm just not going to go. But then that mitigates the habit. And getting in there and just kind of checking the box on occasion, that maybe you're 100% that day for whatever reason.
Yeah.
If that happens too many times, you got to check yourself.
Yep.
Or maybe we need to integrate a coach or whatever. But I like that you said that. Like, it is important to maintain consistency of the craft.
Yeah, the coach, and we'll probably talk about this later, but being a coach is just providing an accountability partner to somebody and really an unfettered view of how you're receiving them, right? Like the actions that they're taking. And so those things are important, whether you have a true coach in life or you have people in your life that are going to keep you accountable to those things.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of accountability and coaching, there's a famous one from Matthew 26:41, which is, the spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. And I see that time and time again. I work with a lot of military guys. They're on the path and they get deployed and boredom sneaks in. Yeah. The porn addiction sneaks in. The challenges of human weakness sneak in. And so how do you kind of navigate the tension between here's my spiritual intention and here's my human weakness when life is constantly just like hand delivering all this temptation?
This goes back to the Forged. I mean, this is my verse, by the way. When I'm 7 hours into a bike ride, this is the verse.
That's cool.
Because I want to stop. Don't ever sit there and think that I don't want to stop just like everybody else. But if the spirit is willing to overcome what the flesh wants, anything is possible. So
I like seeing you get fired up about this. This is good stuff.
I am fired up about it. And I got to tell you, God did not call us to a life of comfort. He didn't call us to be comfortable. He called us to be significant. Significance doesn't come from comfort. The forge process is not comfortable. Iron sharpening iron. You tell me one thing that seems good about a hammer or anything, beating on an axe. How does that feel comfortable? Mm-hmm. There's no comfort in that.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's so cliche. Mm-hmm. Easy to say on a podcast, easy to read, hard to live.
It is.
We see it on shirts all the time. We see it written on walls in gyms all over the place. But in a world where comfortable is so convenient, it's really hard to trust in the spirit. What do you kind of share with gentlemen in the coaching journey to kind of hold them accountable and like show proof of concept, right? Like, hey, when you did the hard thing, you felt this way. When you did X, Y, and Z, your life turned out this way. But it's like time and time again, you're having to like polish the fogginess in a client or patient's mind to help them see the beauty in their action, because everyone wants to give up at some point.
For sure. I love the journaling process, and I've never been a big journaler until now.
Oh, interesting.
And I love the journaling process, and I love encouraging other people to journal, because what you do is you get a clear lens of what you were doing 6 months ago, and the struggles that you had 6 months ago, and the things that you overcame, and the things and the life that you have lived. And so you can always look back and gain perspective, because you never feel like you've arrived. But if you can start journaling through that, and you can start really writing down and going back and seeing through that clear lens, then you can see the progress. The second thing in that is don't judge yourself by the way of the world. Society tells us to be comfortable. And if you're following what really society, I'm not telling you to be totally, anti-society, that's not it. But if society is telling you that you need to be comfortable or you need to do certain things, you're probably on the wrong path. You're probably not to the path of significance. You're on the path to conformance.
Yeah, that's a good point. I definitely think that there's so much distraction in this world that sometimes we can shift our opinions pretty easily. We can be a little bit malleable in a non-positive way. But then there's other times where we can be malleable in a good way.
Sure.
And I think understanding that you can spiral up or spiral down is actually a really powerful nugget of wisdom.
Absolutely is a powerful nugget of wisdom if you choose to lean into it. Mm-hmm. But you have to make that conscientious choice every time. Yeah. And it has to be consistency through a concerted effort. Another piece of my mantra: consistency through a concerted effort. And you can either spiral up or spiral down. Mm-hmm. If you take Facebook and Instagram and all these things that we love to utilize as tools, and those are businesses. They're there to make money. How are they making money?
Attention.
If you're overusing it, it's going to be a bad thing. Anything, it doesn't matter. Cocaine, Instagram, donuts, anything overused creates bad results.
Totally. Put on the full armor of God.
Oh, man.
What comes to mind with that one?
Matthew 6:13 says something. Gosh, I hate doing this on podcasts because I always quote wrong scripture, and then I get all kinds of DMs like, hey, you screwed it up. I believe Matthew 6:13 says something like, when you've done everything else, stand. And that's at the end of the full armor of God. Mm-hmm. And so really been in this lately about when you've done everything else, stand. What does that mean? When I've done everything else, stand. Well, put on the full armor of God. And what is that? I mean, it's the breastplate of righteousness. It's the belt of truth. It's the helmet of salvation. And when it comes down to it, you live in the Word. Like you arm yourself with the tools so that you can navigate life. And when you have fully taken on all of the things that God has called you to arm yourself with, then you can stand, and you can stand against the enemy that is there to devour you.
Wow. That's some powerful stuff right there. In your experience, what does the armor of God look like? If somebody's trying to create like an imagery so they can position themselves in that state, like what does that look like when you're leading a business, a family, or a team?
That's a good question. I'm going to have to think about for a second. But what does the full armor of God look like, and how does it like really apply? When you first asked the question, this isn't going to answer your question. Yeah, it's not going to answer your question, but it's going to. It's what came to mind is John 1:1 says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." And so then people want a relationship with God. They're like, how do I have a relationship with God? Like this thing that I can't even fathom. Well, it specifically says if you want a relationship with God, and you go back to that, then you spend time in the Word. The Word was, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So to have a relationship with God, you spend time in His Word. Bringing it back to what you asked about what the full armor of God and what that looks like, is doing the things like you literally, it says the sword is the Word, the sword of, I can't remember exactly how this says, but it says the sword's the Word. We have to understand what Scripture is in order to understand and memorize Scripture, to utilize the one offensive weapon that He gives you. You have to know the Word. You have to consistently have it on your mind. It has to, when you're attacked, you have to be able to pull that Scripture out and know what Scripture to use. And does that mean you have to have the whole Bible memorized? Absolutely not. But have, I would say have 10 scriptures that you can pull from.
Have concepts, have mantras, have things that what I'm hearing here is that, the military provides guardrails. Mm-hmm. The workplace sometimes does so. Athletics does so. Maybe government and certain things do so a little bit. But when we're in this land of constant chaos, full-on distraction, the Word of God in the Bible gives us guardrails as to how to live appropriately. Yeah. And I think that's the huge takeaway here, is that however people choose to absorb this or hold on to it or let go of it, it's realizing that, like, if you're just doing everything all the time, you're not really moving the needle in the right direction. You're just constant clutter. It's the analogy of me and you fighting, jumping into a pool, and we're splashing everywhere trying to beat each other up. But there's no clarity. There's no real understanding. And if that's in a big pool, then we probably never get close to each other. If it's in a small pool based on environment, it's going to change our behavior. And that goes back to, like, who we choose to spend time with. Yeah. Right? Who we choose to bring a part of our businesses, who we choose to have with our team, how we choose to operate based on the scriptures that live rent-free between our ears. And the only way they can live rent-free there is if we grant them a permission slip by fostering a relationship with the man upstairs and inviting them in to hang out with us, because we're realizing that they're providing value, not just for us, but to then diffuse into the world.
Yeah, we talked earlier that one, a relationship with Jesus gives me freedom from all of my mistakes and freedom from everything else, because there's grace and mercy. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to take credit for it, even though it wasn't me. They say if you say it like five times or more, it becomes yours.
Sure.
Justice and mercy cannot live in the same places. You can either choose justice or you can choose mercy.
So I want to unpack that a little more. What does that mean for people that aren't totally conceptualizing that?
If I want true freedom, like, hey, I went out and got drunk yesterday and I want mercy for it, that means I can't come home and beat the crap out of my wife because she overcooked the chicken. Justice and mercy can't live in the same place.
Got it.
So you can either choose justice or you can choose mercy. But the minute you choose justice, it's justice across the board. And you can choose mercy. And once you choose mercy, once you truly choose mercy and pick it up, then it changes the whole narrative. It changes your perspective so significantly, and it changes the purpose in your life so much.
That reminds me of this statement: how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said something a while ago, I love that. And then if everything's important, nothing's important.
Yeah. That's so true. I've seen it on your website a little bit, and we both have crossed paths with Daniel Hack. He sat in your seat before.
Okay.
He talks about the 5 F's: faith, family, fitness, finances, and fun. Mm-hmm. And you've got faith and family, and then you've got health and wellness, I believe.
Yeah.
And then entrepreneurship, which is kind of similar.
Yeah.
Let's kind of dive into those a little bit, as to those are what I'm seeing are the spokes in your wheel.
They are. It all starts with faith. Again, we started this off with purpose. I mean, when we go back to talking about the addiction, I said I lost my purpose. If my purpose in life was based on Christ, which is where it's Christ-centered purpose is infallible. And so once you start with that root, then everything else comes into focus. And then we talk about family, and again, I do almost everything else that I do for the family. I do because I want my 8-year-old daughter to grow up significantly different than I did. Not that I'm scared of her becoming a crack addict, but I want her to grow up from the freedom from that. Mm-hmm. And I don't want her to go through I know she's going to go through hardships, and it's only through hardships that she grows. But I don't want her to face the big grave things that I faced. Mm-hmm. And so,
you know what one of my favorite lines is, or concepts?
Yeah.
I don't have kids yet, but my thought process is, if I had a daughter, would I want her to date someone like me? It's just like, it keeps me in check.
Yeah.
Like anytime like the enemy presents a bad idea or there's life temptation, I'm like, nah. And then since meeting my wife, like now I'm like so motivated, because I'm like, man, my daughter's probably going to look like you. I can't disappoint that face.
Yeah. It's something else. It's the challenge, because what it does is now I have the the opportunity and the obligation to like model what a real husband is to my daughters.
Because they're not always going to listen to what you say. They're going to watch what you do.
For sure. We've talked about this so much during this conversation. They are going to watch what you do. They're going to watch the results that you're producing by your actions. I feel sorry for their husbands because I go hard after life now.
Yeah.
And they don't see the 22-year-old Jared. They get the 50-year-old Jared that's had some practice.
Yeah.
So those poor guys, man, I hope they go hard after life too.
I love that. Let's jump into, you're a man that practices your fitness, your wellness, your nutrition, and you're an avid performer in Ironmans. Mm-hmm. What does that practice look like, and how does it fit into your day-to-day?
It has a space, right? It has a space, and it can't be the number one space, but it has to have a space of its own. And so day to day, I get up in the morning. I told you I read the Bible and I pray. Typically, my daughter will get up pretty early, my 8-year-old, the youngest, and then I'll spend a few minutes with her. And then she'll go off and do what 8-year-olds do. And then from there, I go into working out. And so depending on where I'm at in my training season, and I don't just do Ironman, it's one of the things that I do. Mm-hmm. But depending on where I'm at in my training regiment, my training season dictates what I'm doing in that period. Mm-hmm. And so like right now, which I've got health issues right now. I've got a sciatic nerve that's just flared up and killing me. So so I'm doing push-ups and I'm doing other things, and I'm trying to run more than I'm biking, and really swimming's the best because it's just so low impact.
Yeah, totally.
So I'll get up in the morning and make sure that I'm dedicated to an hour and a half of some sort of training.
I like that. I like that you're also not just stopping because of the injury. I also appreciate you being here and sitting with me, because sitting sometimes is very irritating to the sciatic nerve.
Yeah.
I've had it many times on the left side, and we've got a network of healers that are part of the Allsmith community that I'd love to funnel and shift your way, as far as acupuncturists, physical therapists, people that pull in, red light therapy or massage therapy and things like that. And so we can chat offline to try to get you on the right path.
My wife is outside laughing so hard right now because you brought up acupuncture, and I'm so scared of needles. And she brought it up, and then on the way here, I said, I think maybe let's try it.
Yeah.
And now that you've brought it up, that's confirmation. So yeah, connect me.
Yeah. It's interesting because, I've got tattoos everywhere, but I'm also afraid of needles. Anytime I get like IV therapy or something, I like look the other way. And my wife's a nurse, so she's like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. Acupuncture was something that I didn't totally conceptualize until I unpacked the book. I think it's called Anatomy Trains. Okay. And it talks about the various fascial lines within the body, and also understanding just the nervous system a little bit, and nerves and nerve impingements and things like that. Yeah. And it wasn't until like this elbow issue, and I was like struggling with like the ulnar nerve, and then understanding the sciatic nerve and how it gets pinched by the piriformis, especially when we're in a cycling type component where the hip flexor gets shortened, the psoas gets shortened, and then our glute med and our piriformis kind of get very, very tight, which then hits that sciatic nerve, and then it affects everything that we're doing. And so leaning into acupuncture really was something that I was not comfortable with, which is why I wanted to do it. Okay. And so I'm not pushing too hard, but I'm like, you know what? Explore it. Yeah. The worst that can happen is you don't like it and you never do it again.
Fair enough. I love that. I love that idea and that mindset.
And also, I just don't want my friends in pain.
Yeah. Just send me the stuff, because this is, it's miserable. Like I get it. People watch the stuff on Instagram. They think, oh, successful businessmen. They think all these things. You and I go through the same stuff. Oh yeah. Like we face the same things. Totally. Unfortunately, people primarily see the best of everything on Instagram, or the glamorous piece. They don't see the grind. They don't see how hard it is. But it's real. I love that you pointed that out, because Cameron Haynes put that on my headspace, and he's such a go-getter. He's a badass. Big fan of his, and he loves to write. Must be nice. Yeah. And people think that sometimes, like, hey, it must be nice to, have these businesses and have these things, that, and you're like, you have no clue what it took for me to get here, and what I overcame in order to do this. And that's why I'm able to experience the joy on this side now, because I experienced the misery first. For sure. And careful what you wish for. Mm-hmm. God gave me exactly what I asked for. Praise him for that. But I didn't understand what I was asking for. Yeah. For sure. That's a really good point. That's something that Chris Williamson talks a little bit about that I can relate to now, where
We're approaching episode 100, I think, on All Smith, and then our previous business endeavor. So in totality, we're close to episode 300.
Okay.
And I used to idolize all these people. And I still look up to them in certain ways and fashions. But I look at certain people now with actually a little bit of pity. Yes, you're successful. Yes, you're doing all these things. Like there's certain things that Elon is doing that I can't even conceptualize, number one.
Yep.
Number two, the fact that he's got so many things going on. He's constantly in the public eye. He gets praise and scrutiny the way you and I drink water and take a piss.
Yeah.
Like that's tough. You can't go anywhere without protection. Like, I mean, I think about that with Rogan too. Like he's pretty open that most people are pretty nice to him. But it's like you also have to be careful if somebody's, you got a target on your back a little bit.
Yep.
And so I almost look at like the lack of peace. Yes, society says they're successful and they do these things, but they don't really have total peace all the time unless they really foster an environment to create it the way Rogan kind of has.
Yeah. I mean, when you get to that level, not everybody, society's trying to tear you down, and there's cameras everywhere, and they're trying to catch you doing whatever. You don't get the full context of it. I mean, it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard I can't even fathom living under that much scrutiny.
Yeah. Everything you do as a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
Which is tough. And, we got to talk about this. And since you and I have talked a little bit about the military, we've talked about some of the controversial things with vaccines and health and the Maha movement, but we got to jump into just recency bias and kind of looking at, this Epstein thing. It's floating to the surface. Kash Patel, said on Rogan and said openly, like, hey, we're going to release the information that we have. And now we're not getting transparency from it. Andrew Tate's kind of had a pretty good, what's the word? Maybe a description of it with Patrick Bet-David around, hey, if they release this whole thing, it's going to unlock even more problems just because of the caliber of people that's on the list. Trump's kind of like, I don't know everybody's obsession with this. But the thing, if I were just to give my rudimentary, like, baseline observation, it's that, is it Ghislaine? Giselle Maxwell is in prison.
Yeah.
Apparently in prison for no list and nothing that took place.
Yeah.
That it doesn't add up. And so for someone like yourself that's just like seeking truth, that's just observational, and your businesses do have a little bit of trickle down from the political volatility. How does this impact you, and what are some of your thoughts on some of these things?
It ticks me off. The whole thing ticks me off. Like, I believe the most dangerous person in the room is the person with nothing to hide. And that's who I want to lead. That's across the board. That's who I want to lead. That's what real leadership is. If there's things in people's past, I mean, let's bring them out and face them. It doesn't mean it's a death sentence or whatever it is, but let's deal with it. And if you choose to live in the public's eye, then you choose to have your life scrutinized like that.
That's a good point.
And then I think I'm gonna go down to whatever we call him today, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing is just sickening. I mean, we got people, money and power, and acting in a way that is just totally a detriment to society, and all for personal pleasure. I don't even know what that is anymore. And it's sad that we've come to that point.
Yeah.
It's sad, and I think people should be brought to account for acting like that.
Yeah, there's so many moving parts and in pictures and things that can be maneuvered with AI. Now it's hard to know what to trust on the internet. And the stuff with P. Diddy also getting off, the same lawyer working with both, it definitely like perks my eyebrows of like, what's connected here?
Yeah.
The Clinton involvement, the Obama involvement, the maybe or maybe not Trump involvement, I don't know. Bill Gates and Melinda coming forth saying, hey, I had to remove myself because of his affiliation with that person. Mm-hmm. And then also the lack of justice that's brought to all of these women that have, been a victim of some sort of pedophilia or rape or these types of things that are just inappropriate and unnecessary and seemingly have been taken advantage of by people in power.
Yeah, I look at it from a father of daughters, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to think about somebody manipulating through however that coercion works. It's all coercion.
Yeah.
And manipulating them and taking advantage of them and in any sort of way. I mean, it's flat pisses me off. I mean, if there's anything I want to fight over, it's those. You know?
Totally. And you're a little older than me, and I'm 35, so you got 15 years on me, but we're both of the generation that grew up without these computer boxes.
Yeah.
We played in playgrounds. We got our knees scraped up. We climbed fences, climbed trees.
When'd you stop? Because I haven't stopped any.
Yeah,
of that.
same.
Okay.
Same. That's why I got scrapes all over the place on my hands from doing all kinds of things. I mean, I basically work in an adult playground now. And it's just so interesting to me because back in the day, we really connected.
Yeah.
We didn't text people. We had the courage. Like if we were pursuing a girl, you had to call her, and it was the landline to talk to her parents before you talked to her. You had to knock on the door. You had to have this courage. And then all of a sudden, things started to change with the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Now you start to see DMing. You're seeing chat rooms. You're seeing porn. Now OnlyFans.
Yeah.
And it's just my question for you is like, what do you think is the future? Because in kind of touching on the P. Diddy, Epstein type stuff, and then kind of going back a little bit to the COVID stuff, we're in a season now where back in the day, you trusted your doctor, you trusted the government, you watched the news.
Yeah.
The news is dying now. Podcast is now, the platform that people listen to and lean into. We're seeing Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Patrick Bet-David, Rogan, Chris Williamson, Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. Like all these things are kind of floating to the surface. Now it's a season where it's like, I just threw out a few things that happen to be in popular culture that I thought would resonate with you that we could dance around. But it's just like, that's really different ends of the spectrum. Trust everything and everyone. And now we're looking back, we're like, holy shit, what is going on?
Yeah, it's the same thing that we've been talking about, though. There's an accountability of your behavior, and in these instances with Epstein and P. Diddy and all of these things, there's no accountability of their behavior of what's going on behind closed doors, and then there's no accountability back to society for what those things are. I don't. The sick thing is even with the OnlyFans move, all of this thing that's going on with the porn. Society is shifting that direction where it's becoming so acceptable that you have all these other behaviors that almost seem normal as well.
Mm-hmm. And not only is there no accountability, but there's actually incentive.
Sure.
If I do this thing, I'm going to get the investment. I'm going to get the political backing. I'm going to get access to these people that are doing things that now I'm going to elevate myself. So as a byproduct, it's almost, the negative behavior is almost rewarded.
The sex tapes. Going back to the release of all the sex tapes and all these people that they're already famous, but then it just blows them up, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there is some rewarding there. But I think it takes good people with good intentions to change that narrative. Mm-hmm. And I think it's our responsibility. I mean, we go back to talking about community and cultural responsibility. It's our responsibility to maintain that normal, or we're going to have a society that is so far gone that you don't want to have your daughters in it. I mean, it's no way to live.
So true. And I think it takes courage and bravery for people to be willing to have this conversation, because we can totally see when you go down the rabbit hole, the people that have spoken out about certain things, they disappear.
Sure.
And that's the other thing that it's like, okay, like that's scary, but it's also should be talked about. It's not adding into the narrative that certain people are not eligible to testify because they've disappeared.
Right.
And all these other people, it has to be very clear context. And over here, it's like, yeah, he sort of committed suicide, kind of disappeared. The autopsy's weird. The tapes disappeared. I have access to this, but I'm not really going to show you. It's just a lie and lie and lie. And like, maybe it's for the greater good to protect certain things. But I also think like it's just not adding up to the totality of the narrative with anybody that's a critical thinker.
No, unfortunately, you said it is what we had 30 years ago was a trust in the news machine. Like that was the journalistic machine. I mean, we had some trust in it, right? And we don't have that anymore. It's been manipulated so much for whoever's narrative, and I'm not going to say right or left or anything. I mean, I think there's propaganda on both sides of the aisle there.
Yeah.
I truly think it comes back to money, power, wealth. And then if you go back into the political arena, you take the Clintons, for example, and I'm pretty vocal about where I align, but I'm not going to say one way or the other. But you take people that had nothing and they've done nothing but politics their whole lives, and then they come out and they have so much money and power on the other side of it. I mean, I think there's a problem with our society that does that.
Yeah, it doesn't add up. And then you get into the manipulation of money in the stock market. It's like, oh, all of these people from Congress have behind the scenes access to the good boys or good girls club. I mean, Pelosi's a great example.
Yeah.
And, you come in, you're making $220,000 a year, and then all of a sudden you come out a millionaire or a billionaire. And then, I think it's really interesting to look at the NGOs, right? Like, okay, money is being funneled in different ways. And because they're in positions of power, they've got tax strategists and, lawyers that are working on their behalf to make sure that it falls within the legal boundaries or gets covered up. But it's a mess, man. It's a mess. And I think it's important to just note these things and be aware of them. So when making the decision, just like we talked about with nutrition, just like we talked about with health, when we're making decisions, whether it's a vote, how we speak, how we choose to live, we're creating transparent awareness of a 360-degree model, as opposed to like, hey, you know what? That doesn't really affect me. I'm just going to look here. I'm going to be blind to it. And it's like, that's not living responsibly.
It's not. And I think when you have anything when you have political corruption, you open yourself up to all kinds of other things. And I'm not saying one leads to the other. Political corruption doesn't lead to Epstein. Epstein doesn't lead to political corruption. But when you have one, it opens the door for the other. And I think that's a problem in society is we need to get back to the base of who we are. The base of morality. We need our leaders to lead that way. And that's what politics is for. And I think if we truly had that, if we truly got back as a country, back to voting in leaders that were going to lead with morality, lead for community, lead for the commonwealth of the people, then we would stop seeing things that we see like with Epstein. It would go back to being not the norm, but the exception. It would be the extreme, I should say.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate you being willing to have these types of conversations, because it takes an awareness in the world. It takes some volatility. You sometimes feel like you have to be careful with your words because you don't know how it's going to be judged or maneuvered. I've just gotten to the point where I'm genuinely really freaking curious. I'm like, hey, here's what I'm seeing with my lenses. Help me understand the whys and the hows. And if I'm ignorant or oblivious to something, I'm holding space to receive and learn more about this.
Yeah.
But it seemingly is just, it's not adding up according to my tiny brain.
Right. And that's an issue. It's an issue when things don't add up to anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leadership. It's something that you practice daily. And it's a word that it gets thrown around.
Yeah.
Leadership is not management. Leadership means that you get some good, but you mostly take the bad. You're in charge of systems, policies and procedures, standard operating procedures. And it's not always something it's not as glamorous as it seems up to, because you're at the top and it's kind of lonely at the top. But it gets glamorized when you're on a podcast or when you're doing something over here. Let's discuss leadership a little bit.
Yeah, I just told my team, and I'm not trying to start this on a down conversation, but I told my team last Friday that hey, you guys got to understand that we set the old thermometer thermostat deal. Like, we set the temperature for everything we do. Y'all have to understand the effects of what y'all are bringing to me as the leader and the head of the company, because what I deal with is the extreme bad situations in every instance. Very rarely does somebody come in and go like, heck yeah, we just got to win. It's always, hey, we've got this issue. I need you to help solve it. And so I'm always kind of slanted towards that mindset, which makes it very, very difficult to lead. But also makes it where when you walk in with a problem, like, I'm ready to go to war already because I'm already slanted that way. And so we have to be cognizant of that, on both sides of leadership, right? we have to be cognizant of what we're bringing to the table and of what our mindset is, and then what the intention is.
Yeah.
So
within that, how do you draw boundaries? Do you have, an order of operations or a chain of command for people to gain access to you as far as your leadership of your teams? Or do you kind of keep it a little bit transparent, but then kind of personally filter like, okay, this person just needs to vent right now. This really isn't that big of a deal. Or how do you kind of do that in relation to your time?
Oh man, I wish I had a good answer for this, because it changes daily. When we were a small company, we were all in one little bitty office and everybody had access. It was so easy. And then as we grew and we're over 50 strong, that access is a lot more limited. And so then you have people that are kind of upset about that, and people that saw it both ways. And so those are hard places to navigate. But we do have a chain of command. We have operating procedures. We have things that we have in place in order to operate. But you also don't want to be so restricted. You don't want to be so unavailable that you lose that personal touch, because if I had to be that, I don't want to do it either.
Yeah, it's really important to keep that personal touch. And also in a world of everything is a video camera, like people believe it when they see it. And when they stop seeing your presence, and then maybe they see on social media that you're on a trip with your family, all of a sudden their perception is that you're banking in their hard work, and then they don't totally conceptualize what leadership is, because they just assume that you're a disconnected business owner, which I've seen that before too.
Yeah, that's hard. I can't control how everybody else perceives it, but I also had to learn to let go of that. Like I have to live my life and trust that I'm going to continue to do the right things. And that if somebody perceives me that way, then they really, truly don't know me. But I can't live my life hindered by that. I can't live handcuffed by those fears. But I also have the responsibility to make sure that I'm not just living this Kardashian lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, this has been really fun. You're a man that has a lot of different facets of knowledge, and you're willing to play in lots of different arenas, which is very cool. As we conclude today, man, I want to hear about your coaching business and Rise Up Kings, and how you came up to that name and how that fits with all the things that you're doing.
So Rise Up Kings was started by Skylar Lewis, who's become a good friend of mine. Started in Newport Beach, California.
Beautiful place.
Beautiful place. Moved it to Texas a few years ago. And I'm privileged to be one of the coaches there.
That's great.
And so, again, I've always been in leadership. I've always been a leader. I've never viewed myself as a coach, but then once I started really coaching, leaning into coaching and always be coaching, I think, my life started, I don't want to say seeing purpose, but the purpose expanded. Like I started getting true joy out of watching other people win, out of watching people really mold themselves. And you asked about leadership. I mean, leadership isn't me making all the decisions and directing all the pieces on the board. Leadership is looking for an intended outcome, knowing what your intended outcome is, and then kind of providing those guardrails to allow your people to go towards that. And then supporting them in their decisions, whether those decisions are right or wrong. You can present other things, but then allowing them to go through life to make those decisions and still getting to that intended result, even if it's not the way that you wanted to get there.
Yeah.
And that's what leadership is.
It's beautiful.
And so with that, I mean, it's been fun with the coaching piece of it because I get to totally let go of the results. I'm just there to support the people.
That's cool. Does he provide you a curriculum to use? Do you get to operate at the beat of your own drum? For somebody maybe listening that would love to work with you, what does that look like?
So I coach through Rise Up Kings, and then I do some coaching outside of Rise Up Kings as well. And it's the same either way. I'm not the type of coach that you're going to come to me and like, hey, I want a business coach. And first thing I'm going to ask is like, cool, let's talk about your relationship with your family. Like, you know, if you're not doing all things well, you're not going to do anything well. And so I'm a holistic life. I don't like that term either, but I'm a life coach. I mean, I want to see people do well in life.
Yeah, you're looking at just the foundation being family and faith, and then building on top of that. If you're just going after one thing by itself, it doesn't really work, because that pyramid's going to fall.
No, my team asked me the other day, and this was kind of an impromptu about building wealth. And if you're so focused on just building wealth, you're going to I don't think you're ever going to meet that mark.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to meet it. There's so many things other than wealth. And if you do all those other things well, then you're going to become wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so quit focusing on the wrong things.
Yeah, for sure. Is there something that is lighting your heart on fire right now that I didn't discuss with you today that's something you'd love to share with our community?
Oh, no, like the community is so important. And what lights my heart on fire? Well, there's two things. Like right now, we just watched a tragedy in Texas with all the children dying in the floods, and me losing a son that's near and dear to me. Like it's so hard to walk through those things in life, and we need to reach out as a community. Like we need to reach out as a community and quit asking the questions of trying to place blame on all these other things, but just solve the problem. And that problem is the hurt and the pain that these people are going through. Mm-hmm. So that's near and dear to me, number one. But number two is we have to get back to being a community. I talked about locking arms, and we have to be willing to really get your circle. I'm not an advocate for small circles, my circle's pretty small and tight with the people that I'm really close to. But man, really locking arms and being there for those people through the hard times and through the failures and through everything else, like supporting them, even if you don't agree with them, support them and help them walk through it. Mm-hmm. And walk through life. And that's what I'm passionate about.
That's awesome, man. If you could have a billboard and a little statement from yourself, mm-hmm. You know, I'm driving on the freeway and I peek my head over my shoulder. What would you like that to say?
Own now.
Own now.
Own now.
That's great, man.
Look, if you're going to own anything, own right now.
Jared, where can people find you, man?
On Instagram. I got a website, jaredhellums.com. I believe my Instagram's Jared Hellums. Those are the two easiest places to do it.
Yeah, your content's great. It's very to the point.
Yeah.
It's engaging. Your team's doing an amazing job. Just wanted to make sure I threw that shout out your way, because going down, I'm really big on, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Mm-hmm. And so definitely try to prepare for all of our guests before we host them in our awesome studio. And it's been such an honor and privilege to connect with you today, man.
Man, I appreciate it. And I just one last thing on that with my team,
mm-hmm.
that surround yourself with people that are better than you at the things that you need to be good at.
Totally.
So thanks for the shout out to the team as well.
I love it, man. Guys, if you enjoyed my conversation with Jared Hellums today, please rate, review, subscribe, and share with your friends. And as always, stay on the hunt for who you've not yet become. Until next time.